Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Ebner breaks a tackle at the 7, touchdown. Taken it 14 yards.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Look at that read. It's Lovett. It is touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
All on the ground here to open up the third quarter. Hasty breaking tackles. And Jermichael in for his second touchdown of the day.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Man, that's a little jazzy, little Cinco de Mayo flavor to open up this SicEm365 radio show. We'll take you up until 6 o'clock. David Smoke, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke, Dylan Chapman helping run the mothership. And today we have former Baylor wide receiver Kalief Muhammad at 3:30. At 4 o'clock, Rangers starting pitcher Kyle Gibson, 32-year-old that the Rangers signed as a part of a pretty nice staff that I don't know when they're going to pitch. And then at 4:15, Maxon, the producer of The Last Dance, the documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s. Paul Catalina locked that one in. He'll join us at 4:15. Also today, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com at 5, and then also today at 5:30, John McClain. Little nugget for tomorrow. We'll have Dave Aranda from his Zoom press meeting, and also North Carolina head coach Mack Brown, Andrew Billings tomorrow, among some of the other names. So Jason King put this one together. We kind of teased this yesterday, Craig and Paul. The leading rusher for Baylor this season will be 2 of the 5 who responded said Treston. 3 of the 5 said John Lovett. 1 mentioned Quaylon Jones, and another said Treston Edner.
I forgot to send in my answers, but I would have said John Lovett. I just think he's the guy who's more of an alpha dog in this offense, a number 1 back. But Quaylon Jones is intriguing. If you ask me who's going to be 2021's leading rusher, I would probably say him.
Well, I know one thing. I hope everybody out there on SicEm365.com is reading the recaps and all that. I typed a lot of words last night because I recapped a couple of the different interviews that we had. Terrence Williams was nearly 25 minutes, and that takes a while to break down. And then there was Corey Campbell, who was also about 20 minutes. So between the two of those guys, it took me a while to go back and listen to those interviews. And for those who don't have time to listen to interviews, one of the benefits of being a premium member of SicEm365.com is that for our bigger interviews, I will recap them. So you can be at work and you can just read through and get all the highlights of what was said. Now, some of the nuance may be lost, but you get the bones of it, the beef of it. So in between transcribing those 2 interviews last night, I was like, oh, yeah, Jason sent us that email. And so I did that as well, and I went John Lovett, and I think Treston Ebner is going to be the overall more impactful back if he is in fact healthy this year, which he was not basically all of last year. And I think, you look at the what-ifs of last season, and certainly there are some what-ifs that you could say, what if this kick wasn't good, or what if this play doesn't happen? And Baylor very well could have been nowhere near the Big 12 championship picture last year because they had a lot of close games that they ended up winning more often than not. But, there's a lot of questions, and I just think Treston Ebner could have been a guy that put them over the top. But he's going to be a guy, in my eyes, that sees more of the ball in a variety of different ways, whereas John Lovett's the back, the more pure back. And I think John showed last year, and he showed maybe once or twice before that he's got the capability of breaking off the long run. He can break off the 60, 65-yard run, and I think we saw more confidence in him doing that last season. So I'd anticipate with this staff and the way that they've been known to run the football just as various coaches wherever they've been, I think that the run game is going to be huge, and I feel like, John Lovett would be my pick to be the leading rusher next year.
Well, he was 3 of the 5. Quaylon Jones, this is, and I'm not going to give all this. This is part of the premium content, but it's a whole new, with Larry Fedora now, it's a clean deck. And there's no question. I mentioned Quaylon Jones at the end of last week as somebody that intrigued me, especially if they go to 2 backs, because he's a banger. And he's also got tremendous speed and size. And last year we saw him, I don't know which one it was. It was a game where he just busted loose for about 50 yards. It may have been against nobody.
Forget what game that was, too. But, he flashed that long, what was it, a touchdown run?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah,
the long touchdown run. I know that was somebody that Matt Rule and company were very, very high on. He was just a bit young in the system last year, and they had Lovett, and they had Ebner for the most part. And, there were other guys kind of in front of him. But now you look at it, and I think the running back position may be one of the most intriguing on the entire roster because you have the seniors in Lovett and Ebner, but you have a Quaylon Jones who obviously has a lot of talent. You have a Squirrel Williams. I mean, that's another guy. We didn't see him at all last year. We didn't see him at all. And we kept asking about him, and it got to the point where people asking us to ask about Squirrel got almost like not annoying towards those people, but it's just like there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. So, a healthy Squirrel, a Quaylon Jones, a Lovett, a Ebner, Tay McWilliams, another young back that they had that I know Rule really, really liked, just never got to coach, and I think I'm probably leaving a couple of guys out. Yeah, I think that running back room is really solid.
Yeah, it got a little bothersome to me about Squirrel Williams, I'll just tell you, because I was like, well, nothing's changed. I mean, it's not like the offense was so, loaded that he was. I mean, they struggled on offense at times last year. If they had an X factor they could have thrown out there, believe me, they would have.
Yeah.
So they would have. It wasn't like they were just keeping him on ice to keep him on ice.
No, that was a more mysterious type of injury that he just, whatever it was, the knee early on, and then we just got kind of vague updates from then on out. And, obviously he just wasn't healthy enough, but he should be more than healthy now. We've seen him in a couple of the pictures before everything got shut down on Instagram when they were working out and things like that. Some of the videos they would put out, I think we got a couple of flashes of Squirrel in some of those. So he was out there working. Some of them may have some similarities, but there's a lot of differences between those guys. Squirrel Williams is a much different running back than Quaylon Jones is. Treston Ebner's a different running back than all those guys as well. So, there's some good options, but Lovett makes sense as the overall choice.
All right, so I'm going to put up a poll on my Twitter timeline. Who will lead Baylor football rushing yards? See if it compares to the premium site and what was said. We'll have John Lovett, Treston Ebner, Quaylon Jones, and Squirrel?
Yeah.
Or Charlie Brewer?
Where did he finish in the rushing last year? I don't know that off the top of my head. Yeah, he wouldn't have been near the top, but I'm sure he got his fair share of yardage last year. I don't know that I would include him as a leading rushing candidate, but the candidates as of right now, Lovett, Squirrel, Tay McWilliams, the freshman, Treston Ebner, Quaylon Jones.
Lovett had 655, actually 637, Hasty 614, Brewer 337, Bohannon 272, Ebner 227. And he played in 13 games, but never was exactly, as you mentioned, he wasn't healthy.
He played for like 3 plays in some of those.
Quaylon Jones on 13 carries at 103 yards. So, and there's others that maybe step up. Who knows how someone might catch the attention of a coach that is now with a new staff with Larry Fedora and George Munoz, among others. So that's one of the things that we will discuss today. Also today, Paul, the Stonewood Dental call-in number is available. You have to sometimes walk before you jog. You got to jog before you run. You got to run before you sprint. You got to run short distance before you run long distance. We have the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, 254-339-1122. We love it when you're a part of that. We have the Willis Law Firm, the chat room, and we love it when you're a part of that. And also the Twitter timelines, at Paul Catalina, at Craig Smoke, at David Smoke. And now the phone line. 254-339-1122 if you want to call. It'd be the opening call that we've been able to take because of some things that we had to kind of get corrected, and Paul's been working behind the scenes with that. First caller off the top. Who will lead Baylor in rushing yards during the 2020 season? Lovett, Ebner, Brewer, Jones, or somebody else? 254 339-1122. And for the rest of your lifetime, you'll be the first caller off the top at SicEm365 Radio. All right? So that's going on today. The NFL, first one off the top, forever and ever, you'll be the first caller. The NFL releases their schedule very soon. Thursday night.
Yeah, I think it's weird that I'm sure they're doing it because they plan on being, there and having their full season. But it's weird that they're. I guess I don't know. To me, it's weird that they're pretending like nothing's happening or that it'll be.
Well, I don't know if they're doing that. They cancel the international games.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, here's the thing: they can set up the schedule, and then if things don't work, they just continue to. Maybe they'll miss games like there was a strike. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no issue with them releasing the schedule. I think that that's just something they would typically be doing anyway. So, I don't think that them going forward with something they would typically already be doing is really not taking note of what's going on or anything like that. I just think it's much like with the draft. They're just operating and moving forward and continuing to do what they do until they can't do that any longer. So I kind of like the way the NFL has been cautious and been mindful, but they've still, not allowed what has gone on to just completely shut them down and make them, unable to operate on any level. So they're continuing to operate. They're continuing to go forward as though they believe the season's going to start right on time. And I like the optimism and just hope that in the long run they end up being right. But, I'm not somebody that gets really over the moon about schedule releases. I think it's fun to see. Everybody's going to see the schedule and they're going to go put their, all right, Cowboys are going to be at 11-5 this year and give their predictions. And that's fun for, a day or so. But it'll be cool to see that and just kind of get a clear picture of what this NFL season could look like scheduling wise.
Well, they're gonna release it Thursday night at 7:00 Central on the NFL Network and of course NFL.com and also the NFL app. I heard a phone ring and I got goosebumps.
Yes, we've got Matt.
Matt in D.C. maybe, is that right? 254-339-1122 or perhaps not. Good afternoon on SicEm365 Radio. Matt, what's up?
Hey, guys, it's Matt in D.C. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. You will now go down in history now that we have technically things as we continue to add the first ever. Like we got to get a plaque in your name, caller for SicEm365 Radio.
Thank you, guys. I just want to say that I'm very happy y'all are back, and you guys' guest lineup has been insane. And I think the leading rusher for this year is definitely going to be John Lovett.
Why?
He's everything about him. I think he's just going to do it. He's always just shown consistency, and it's his time to shine more than all of them.
Average 6.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, along 6. That's amazing that they really didn't run they did run the ball, but they weren't a team that
couldn't really run the ball.
God, physical type plays or quarterback keeps that he took a beating on sometimes. Matt, hey, thanks for your support from the very beginning. I know you were with us even before we launched the new show. We appreciate your time and thanks for being the first caller.
Thank you, guys.
That's Matt in D.C. Very nice.
Yeah, very fitting that he's the first caller. Matt's been a long-time listener, even when we were at that other place, and good to have him on board with us at SicEm365. And he's, forever the first caller. And had I put together a list of, names that I can recall off the top of my head that would be a very fitting first caller, Matt in D.C. would certainly be near the top of that list. So, yes, he has now made history. Our history rank so far is the first caller ever to the show, the first guest ever. And then I had this special category thanks to Kurt Schilling and Phil Bennett and a couple of others of the first cuss words uttered on our show. So Phil Bennett, I think, got GD. But Kurt Schilling might have beat him. I think Kurt Schilling had BS first. So some of those I'm keeping track of as well. But, yeah, Matt and DC will be a part of those superlative categories in the future.
I believe, I'm not sure if this goes back all the way to the beginning, but I believe Edmund Bear was maybe the first Willis Law Firm text. This is so great. Excited about Smoke and Friends being a part of SicEm365. It's like the whole family is together again. And that was, that's good. That's good. It's not bad. Smokies nationwide. Yeah, we're all nationwide, right?
We are.
Coast to
We're
coast.
worldwide. Are you kidding? It's internet radio. It goes
Yeah.
anywhere. They could be listening to us in Japan right now or in Germany or something.
Speaking of that,
Just wait until Apple gets on their stick.
Yeah, and we got the app that's still being worked on. But I mean, look, this is something that if you really think about it, between the end of one era and the start of this much better era, there's been things to kind of check mark along the way. And today we got a big check mark with the phone lines, and we had a big check mark before that with the text line, and just the various things that we've added along the way. And Paul's been a big part of getting all that together. But yeah, now I guess the missing piece is that app. And once we get the app, people will have the ability to very quickly access the show from anywhere, and that'll be a lot of fun. And I think it'll be just so easy for people to log on with us that I'm looking very forward to having that access.
I spoke with a sponsor about that today, and also somebody that wants to be. They want to be a part of the app. In fact, they are. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat is our sponsor of the app. Thanks to Ted Teague, Bob Block at Bob Block Marketing. We appreciate them. Also today, did you guys see what I guess last night? Did I see where Korean baseball was broadcast on? Is it on ESPN?
Yeah, it was a game that got to get shut down because of a fire. Very fitting that they had to kind of have a pause, apparently because of fire near the stadium. But yeah, Korean baseball got going last night on TV, and there were a lot of people tuned in just because of the thirst for live sports. So Korean baseball got a little shine last night.
Well, and yeah, South Korea today, Korea Baseball Organization opened its season with no fans in the stands. The country's pro soccer league will kick off Friday, also without spectators in the stadiums. And then also wanted to note, Gil Brandt, when we had Drew Pearson on last week, the Pro Football Hall of Fame we had Cliff Harris on, who's going to be inducted, weighing 5 different contingency plans for the preseason opener and the 2020 induction ceremony, currently scheduled right now for early August. So they're making plans as well. Leon, see, you left me out. No, Leon, we mentioned the very first
you mentioned
text,
Edmund Bear.
and also we mentioned the first chat room. But Leon, no, we didn't leave you out, and we appreciate you all the time.
Yeah, we definitely
being
got
part of the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line.
We definitely got to give it up for Leon. He has been very loyal from day one as well. A lot of people have, so we can't mention everybody. But yeah, Leon's somebody else like Matt and DC and some others that have carried over and joined us on this ride, and we're very thankful for all of them. And we'll have some more firsts, I'm sure, that maybe Leon or Edmund Bear or whoever else can grab as well.
In fact, Leon was one of the first people we mentioned. Remember the opening segment about what it meant to him when we were doing the show.
Hold on, I can scroll back through all his texts, and I can tell you if he was the first one or not.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't. He was not. He was not the first one, but he got on board with us very, very quickly.
Did y'all not?
The first text was this. The 817, you sound great, Smokey. That's from somebody in the Fort Worth area. Yeah. And that was for us. Here's another one from the 832. Welcome back, guys. This was at 3:05 on April 6th. Missed hearing your voices, Jeff and Lorena. Listening to you, fella. This is awesome, Grant and Belton. So those were the first 3 text messages.
Do you know what was awesome about why it was 3:06? Because at 3:03, they sent me the email saying it was live.
Yeah. Quick 3 minutes from activation
that's right.
to first text.
That's right. Okay, so 3:30 today, Kalief Muhammad, former Baylor wide receiver, who's now a coach at Tompkins High School in Katy. His son, oh, by the way, is someone who is being recruited. In fact, he's going to attend the Air Force Academy, track star as well. Governor Abbott has announced that May 18th there will be some new guidelines and new things that will be opening up on the 18th, which would be a part of Phase 2, which is still 13 days away. Coming up next, we'll have Kalief Muhammad. We'll also today hear from Kyle Gibson of the Rangers, the producer of The Last Dance. Oh, Will Purdue's going to be on next week.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
nice.
so I got him locked in for next week.
I wonder if he remembers sitting next to me at the Big 12 tournament where he's 7'2", and he was on the 3rd row at the Big 12 tournament. Craig, you didn't get to go to the stadium, so you don't know this. So there's 2 very comfortable rows to sit at the Sprint Center in Kansas City where you have a desk in front of you. And then there's a 3rd row where even if you're 5'7.5" like me, it's pretty uncomfortable. Well, if you're 1.5 feet taller than I am, can you imagine?
Yeah,
That's where I met Will Purdue.
Tall guy problems, big time. Yeah, I didn't see much of Kansas City outside of the hotel and the airport. That was basically all I saw of Kansas City in about 27 hours.
All right, coming up next, Kalief Muhammad, also Kyle Gibson Rangers. We'll have the producer of The Last Dance. We'll hear from John McClain, David Helman, and much more. This is SicEm365 Radio. In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Jeremy Mullins, head football coach at Toller High School, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Next segment, Kalief Muhammad. Tompkins High School in Katy, played at Baylor in 93, 4, 5, and 96. Running back, wide receiver, kicks and punt returns. He'll join us in just a little bit. But part of that premium content today on SicEm365.com was the question, the sports movie moment that moved you the most was, and I'll give you the names of the movies without getting too much in detail. Billy Bob Thornton's Being Perfect speech in Friday Night Lights. Ashley Hodge, well, he just said the movie of Baylor men's basketball winning at Kansas. Jason King, Boobie Miles, watching him break down in his uncle's car after cleaning out his locker in Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, that one I did not get because it's a little longer, and I don't know if it translates audio just as well because it's very emotional.
Craig's Al Pacino pregame speech, Any Given Sunday.
Yeah, I kind of had a hard time because there's so many great sports movies and sports moments, but that one just sticks out to me. And as I said in my answer, that movie has like every pro football cliche imaginable in it. I mean, it is like Vince McMahon's vision of the NFL. You know what I mean? And even then, that aside, that was a really good little pregame speech Al Pacino gave. So that was one that came to me, and I really enjoyed.
And you know how I am about movies and remembering much of anything, but I've always been a Denzel Washington fan, and Remember the Titans popped into my mind. So I went to a link that said 5 of the greatest moments of Remember the Titans, and one of them was the halftime speech with Boone, who was Coach Boone, which is Denzel Washington, and the other guy who was the one that was trying to undermine Denzel, and they didn't have a good relationship, and they finally clicked in this championship game. And, Paul, which one do you have loaded up?
I have, and what you name, I have two
have
clips.
Craig, let's do Al Pacino. You
Al
have that one?
Pacino's is the longest one. It's
How
4.5 minutes. So
it's pretty long.
That's pretty long.
It's great, though. We got to play it before the end of the show because it's
what
fantastic.
you have Billy Bob Thornton's?
Billy Bob Thornton is 3 minutes. I have 2 different shorter ones from Remember the Titans, 145 on yours and 41 seconds on one, and I have 141 from Field of Dreams.
All right, let's do the 145. Is this the Remember the Titans Soul of a Man?
This is yours.
All right.
Okay.
All right, we're in a fight. You boys are doing all that you can do. Anybody can see that. Win or lose, we're going to walk out of this stadium tonight with our heads held high. Do your best. That's all anybody can ask for.
No, it ain't, Coach. In all due respect, you demanded more of us. You demanded perfection. Now, I ain't saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not. And I ain't gonna never be. None of us are. But we have won every single game we have played till now. So this team is perfect. We stepped out on that field that way tonight. And if it's all the same to you, Coach Boone, that's how we want to leave it.
Yeah. I hope you boys have learned as much from me this year as I've learned from you. You've taught this city how to trust the soul of a man rather than the look of him. And I guess it's about time I joined the club. Herman, I sure could use your help. Ed Henry's kicking my ass out.
Listen up. This is our time now. Second half is our time. We're going to make some changes on defense. They're spreading us out too far. We're going to put Sunshine, Allen, Glasgow, Davis. You're going to play both ways. Rest of the game. I don't want a receiver to get across that line of scrimmage. Coach Yost will tell you where you're playing, all right? Let's go. It's our time. Everybody in. Our time, our time, our time. Titans on 3. 1, 2, 3. Time!
There you go. That's just a part of it.
All right. So I've got another one from there that's a little shorter.
From the Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans, yes.
All right.
That I thought was equally good.
Okay.
Also, not from Denzel Washington. This is right after the assistant coach, decides he's not going to let the refs rig the game.
Okay, I remember
so he
that.
get in the Hall of Fame, and he tells them he'll go to the papers, but he comes back over and he's telling the team what he expects out of them from the rest of the night.
Defense on me.
Okay, Petey, don't you drift to the strong side.
Coach, they're calling a holding penalty on me every time.
Did I ask for your excuses? You want to act like a star? You better give me a star effort. Do you hear me? Forget about him. Allen, you're in. Come on.
All right. Now, I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. You make sure that they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
All right, so I remember that part. And I'm not good about many of the movies, and we have Kalief Muhammad to take a break and come back with him. But we'll even ask him. I'm sure he has one that's his favorite.
But by the way, the nerdy kid that he put in when Petey left, the nerdy kid he put in was Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, just like the coolest dude of all time.
When we come back, we have Kalief Muhammad, former Baylor wide receiver and running back, now a high school coach in Katy. His thoughts about, football season, his son going to the Air Force Academy, his memories at Baylor. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Kalief Muhammad played at Baylor 1993, 94, 95, and 96. And the last year he was there was the first year of the Southwest Conference moved into the Big 12. And Kalief Muhammad, now a coach at Tompkins High School. And Katie joins SicEm365 Radio Live with Craig and Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke and David Smoke. Kalief, thank you for joining the show. We had a conversation earlier in the show about the best sports movie. There's a lot of them, and we actually even broke down the best sports movie. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Whenever you're thinking about a sports movie, just to remember the Titans just comes to mind for me. It's just one of those movies that brings back that just down-to-earth football, and that's mine.
Yeah, that's the one I picked. There were others, of course. All of them were great choices as well. So you're now coaching at Tompkins in Katy. That's a school that's been opened up, somewhat recently. And what's it like now? Your son is going to the Air Force Academy, man. Everything's growing up.
That's right. I guess we're getting old, or I'm getting old. But, yes, both my boys are doing well. My oldest one went to Oregon, and now he's graduated. And my youngest one, he's going to the Air Force Academy to run track and play football. So, we're a blessed family over here, so we're excited to watch him get that opportunity to do some great things.
You were there at the transition into the Big 12 that first year. Was it different? What was it? What was the feel of playing in a new conference after playing in a different one for 3 years?
You got to remember at that time we had just left the Southwest Conference, and we had some really hard battles there. But going to the Big 12, it was something that was going to give our Baylor family that much needed hypeness of getting in a faster conference. Obviously, you had your Oklahoma State. So you had those opportunities to go out there and play some of those old Big 8 teams, and so it was a great opportunity for all of us. And when you're looking back at it, that was the start, and it was just great for all of our Baylor people.
When we have had, since our opening show on SicEm365 radio on April the 9th, so it's been just over 4 weeks, but we've had the legacies of Baylor football, and there are still so many more. I mean, a bunch more. And it's amazing because there was that stretch right after you left where they really didn't have much success until 2010, but there's so many names. What is it like when someone contacts you and wants you to kind of go back and reminisce with us?
Well, it's very honoring. It's one of those things that, I'm honored to have that opportunity because I played with, like you mentioned, a lot of great guys. You're talking about George McCullough, Adrian Robinson, a lot of guys who've done some great things for Baylor. And I'm just, a little piece of that puzzle. It's just one of those deals where I'm excited to wear my Baylor gear, to put on my ball cap and go support baseball or our basketball team or watch our football teams play. It's just exciting, and I'm blessed to have been just part of that great family.
Okay, I'm curious. You in your prime versus your son right now. Who would win flat out?
If it's just straight speed, I mean, he's clocking a 10.41. So, I mean, I can't compete with that. But, I tell him all the time that, man, if I had his height and I had his speed, I could do some great things. But no, I came from a different area. I grew up in a total different area than what he grew up in. So I'm going to always bet on myself. I'm not going to ever lose.
and you had, when you were at Baylor, you had some you running back, wide receiver. Obviously, you were a part of the special teams as well. How would your game then now translate into how wide open the game is now and how valuable the slot receivers are?
Oh man, nowadays when you look at the slot receivers, they're pretty much just converted running backs who can make guys miss. You put guys in space and you give them the ball, and that's something that Chuck Reedy at that time and you talk about just a lot of our coaches that were just trying to put the ball in the hands of those that can make things happen. And in today's game where everything's a spread and it's one-on-one matchup, I feel like I would have done a great thing. Every now and then I get out there with our players now and I'll go and run a route just to kind of show them that I can still do it. So, some great things out there.
You had a kick return for a touchdown in the last year you were at Baylor. Do you remember who that was against in the moment?
Kickoff return for a touchdown. Oh, my God. I don't know. You said my last year there? Huh.
Yeah, 96, it says kick return for a touchdown. You averaged, you had 18 kicks, and one of them for a touchdown. It didn't say who was against. So I was curious about who that might have been against. Hey, listen, you're going to be like me one day. You don't remember everything, right?
That's right.
But that's okay. You obviously put up some nice stats during that time. That was a transition for Baylor from, of course, Grant Taft, who built the program from what was the ashes to what Chuck Reedy did, and then after you left, it was it was tough. Did you ever lose interest in following Baylor, or did you stay in with them even when things weren't good?
No, I'm Baylor for life. So, my blood's going to always bleed the green and gold. But no, it just took, when you talk about Coach Taft, he was, he's the foundation. He was a rock. And then when Chuck Reedy came through and then after that, you started seeing a little bit of that carousel happen. But once we landed some of those good coaches and bringing in and keeping those Texas players, in Texas and keep them in Waco was really the key. And once you spark an interest, you can create a blaze, and that's what's been happening. So you're now starting to see those receivers coming in, and now you're having a top receiver every year coming out of Baylor, along with the quarterback play and defensive play. And so, now we are one of those staples where when you think about just hard-fought football, you think about Baylor players.
As a coach, as a high school coach, you've seen coaches come through and, obviously, a few years back it was probably a tougher sell, but the last little bit it's probably been easier. Does that what have you seen from people that are going out trying to sell kids on coming to Baylor now?
Well, I'm also the recruiting coordinator here in at Tompkins, and so and we just so happen to have athletes. And so when you have 160 college coaches come through your doors, and when Baylor walks in, first thing they're going to see is my Baylor poster on my wall. So that's just a given. But it's not a hard sell at all. When you talk about our athletes here in the Houston area trying to do some great things, because there's very few universities out there that's going to allow you to play big-time football while having a great education. And I think that's the difference that you're going to find some of our athletes wanting to go to Baylor versus other schools in the conference.
Kalief, having been through the recruiting process yourself and now being a part of it with the young men that you coach, how wildly different is it from what you experienced?
Oh, it's different. Nowadays, you have everyone that's trying to sell a parent on bringing their child to some recruiting firm where, we didn't have that at that time. Twitter's been a big change of the game because now athletes can promote themselves and educate themselves on what things that works to help them get noticed out there. And you have coaches who are following these athletes. So, it's changed quite a bit, but at the end of the day, it's still the same. You still have to be able to produce on the field and also have the classroom backing of your GPA and your SAT and ACT scores. And so, you can be great on the field, but if you don't have those scores in the classroom, then it's not going to help. And so I think it's changed quite a bit.
And so you saw a Torian Prince, basketball player at Baylor, had himself a heck of a year. He's having Paul, where's he at now? He was traded to Brooklyn. Is it the Brooklyn Nets? So what was it like to watch him have the success he's had as a parent, as also a coach and a parent?
Well, see, I'm in a unique situation because I've watched him grow and I've been his coach at every level. And to look back at the times of missing, birthday parties in the 5th grade or the 7th grade, and trying to get him to understand that what you put in now, you're gonna rip the benefits later on, and to watch him grow into a young man that had the option to go wherever he wanted to go, and choosing to attend the Air Force Academy is an honor for us as a parent. And so to watch my son get that opportunity and then do some great things on the track, it's just sad that his senior year kind of cut short due to the situation that we're all living through. But at the end of the day, he's blessed. And he's blessed to have an opportunity to go play college ball and run track. And so you can't ask for anything more than that.
Jalen Milroe, your quarterback, who's a junior, who's committed to play at Texas, obviously a tremendous player. You guys had a heck of a year. I think you were 11-2 until the Tascasita ended your season. How good is Milroe?
That's right. Milroe is one of the best athletes and players I have ever seen at the high school level. He's a young man that possesses everything you're looking for when it comes to a Heisman Trophy candidate. And I say that, and this is not anything that I'm afraid of saying, because I said this to every head coach that walked through our building. I don't care if it's LSU, Alabama, Baylor, didn't matter. But I told everyone that this kid has the opportunity to win the Heisman because he has that charismatic just vibe around him that he makes everyone better. And when you see, at 6'2" and the way he runs like a deer and he can throw like a cannon and he smiles and bright everything, he has that gift of Cam Newton, but he also has that gift of Jackson with his mobility. And then that gun that he has on his arm is just unbelievable. So I've never seen another player like him before in my life. So he's one of the best ones I've seen in a long time.
That's
high praise.
Absolutely high praise, because you've seen a lot of them as well. Heck of a year for you. Good luck coming up. Hopefully at some point things start to get back to whatever the new normal will be. Kalief, it's great catching up with you. Good luck with your sons in what they're doing, especially at the Air Force Academy, and the young man that graduated from Oregon. And good luck with you as a coach at Tompkins as well.
Always. Thank you, guys, and SicEm Bears.
Yes, sir. That's Kalief Muhammad, played at Baylor 93, 96 through 96.
I'm so incredibly frustrated trying to find this dadgum kick return touchdown.
I am looking up the same thing.
Because he clearly had one, and then I find it, and he did it against Texas. It got called back. So either there's a misprint and people just still count that in some of the stats, or he has one and I just can't find it because it was 96, and it's not like there's a whole lot of great information still available from that time. So I'm going to find it now.
I think I found it. Now, the kickoff return against Texas
got called back.
Was in 94.
Or 90, okay.
A 96-yard return. I believe that was in 94. I just saw the headline. I don't know if this is the case or not. Kalief Muhammad raced 100 yards with a kickoff and ran 47 yards for touchdowns, and that was against Oregon State in 1996.
Okay, I'll look up that box score, and if that was it, then we got to text Kalief and let him know we found it, because now I'm on the hunt.
Well, when you have that many big plays that he had, it's hard to remember some of them, but that was the one kick return in this case, that he scored on. Gerard Douglas was a part of that team. Pierce Pigros was a part of that team. Anthony Taylor, linebacker, had an interception for Baylor, as a part of that team. So that was a big moment in his career, in a win against Oregon State, September of 96 against Oregon State. All right, it's 3:46. Now, if you'd like to, and we would love to hear from you on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, and then also on the Willis chat room, Willis Law Firm chat room. What is your favorite sports movie, but not the movie, but moment in the movie? And if you have a link to it, send it to us, and we'll try to see what we can do. It'll be hard to turn it around, but we can, because Paul's good at that. Dylan Chapman's here today to help run the mothership. Paul, David, Craig, this is SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
All right, and we knew this was probably going to be the case. The question about who leads Baylor in rushing yards during the 2020 season, and right now it's over 53% are the ones who are voting John Lovett. 56% Treston Ebner, 32%. Charlie Brewer just under 7%, Quaylon Jones under 6%. So it's a 2-horse race, and I think Lovett's going to end up with like 65% before it's said and done.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he's the most logical choice. He's been their main running back for the most part the last 3 years, when you think about it. I mean, sure, JaMychal Hasty's been involved, and JaMychal, I don't want to dismiss him. He's a huge part of what they did. But as far as the actual ground yardage and things like that, Lovett had a bit more of an impact the last 3 seasons. And so now being a senior, it just makes sense. Here was a guy that Matt Rule had sort of earmarked as an NFL potential type of player. So John's got a year to prove that and get himself a position in the league, and I think he'll have more than enough carries to do it. But, we don't really know a lot right now because we haven't seen them out on the practice fields. We haven't, been able to see anything with, the coaches actually being able to work with them, and we don't know what the team's even going to look like, quite frankly. We have a loose idea of the offense and the defense, but as far as what it actually looks like with these players, we have no idea. So, yeah, I mean, best we can go off of is just what we know and what we assume or expect, and, I definitely expect, and I know that John's been a leading guy now for the last couple of years, so that's I think one of the more easier choices for people probably to make.
Yeah, 57 to 31% right now, and it'll pretty much usually it's 156 votes in. It doesn't change much.
And there's
once you get locked into the first 80 to 100 votes.
Yeah, once there's kind of a momentum wave in one direction. And another player who I'm interested in seeing what happens with him with this new staff, because he had already moved around under Matt Rule, and that's Jonah White, who was a defensive back and then moved to running back, and we never really saw him. I think he might have had a carry or 2 last year, but yeah, Jonah White's also a part of that mix unless they choose to move him again. We'll see, but that's another storyline, the movement of players and things like that we would typically get during spring ball that we were not able to get this year. So that'll be fall camp coverage for sure, but he's another name that you have to remember in that running back group.
Barry Ray on my Twitter feed on the putting up the story that the Kalief Muhammad touchdown kickoff return was against Oregon State, and I did tell him, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, that's awesome."
So he remembered it?
Yeah, he did. Barry Ray goes, "I'll never forget the time the late great Frank Fallon called him Muhammad Ali as he was ripping off a 60-yard touchdown run." And of course, the greatest in what Frank Fallon was among the legends in Texas sports broadcasting history. And I could see that, you could it's a name, and it's back in the 1960s, the 1990s. Obviously, the name Muhammad was much more prevalent, and even more so now. But Kalief Muhammad, thanks for his time today.
I did have to take umbrage with one thing he was saying, though. He's talking way too good about a UT quarterback with Jalen Milroe.
Hell, he was describing Vince Young.
I know it. And I was like, oh, man, that kid's committed to Texas.
The last thing that everybody wants to see is another once-in-a-lifetime player like Vince Young.
Bail Tom out, yeah. No, but that kid, that young man, Jalen Milroe, I heard about him now for a while, and he's apparently really good, and I have not seen him like Kalief has seen him, so you can only imagine with the way that he was gushing over him how good that young man really is, and yeah, he's going to be in the burnt orange. So that was the one part of the interview I wasn't so much a fan of.
And J. Chris Elliott, play-by-play broadcaster, you can't spell Kalief without Kalief, which is Kalief Hastings, which I guess that's where he went to school in Elsick High School, care of 1989. J. Chris Elliott, PXP on Twitter. Thanks for his time.
Isn't it like it's Kalief ISD, and so then because then there's another way that some people. I don't know. Sometimes with the Houston schools, like Houston Tompkins, and then it's Katie Tompkins, and then it's Kalief. It's just, it gets very confusing sometimes.
It's a massive, absolutely. And by the way, Khalif Muhammad initially had committed to Oklahoma State, and then switched to Baylor. I think the week before National Signing Day. But the Houston area with Katy, Conroe,
the Woodlands,
which is a part of the Conroe School District. Spring, which there's massive amount of schools, absolutely massive amount of schools. But I didn't chance to ask Kalief about his commitment. He changed it from Oklahoma State to Baylor back in late January of 1993. We'll have the 4 o'clock hour. We'll start with Rangers starting pitcher, one of the new members of that rotation, Kyle Gibson, and then the producer of The Last Dance, Matt Maxon. He'll join us today at 4:15. John McClain, 5:30. David Helman on the Cowboys at 5, and this is SicEm365 Radio.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Hi, this is Tyler Holcomb, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Bishop Louis Riker, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. An
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Struck him out again, ran a fastball in on his hands. 2 down.
But here, just get it out.
Got him, looking. Came back and stole the inside corner. He's not a strikeout pitcher.
Suzuki sitting away, good pitch.
Chipped his bat, and Gibson flips to first.
Good sinker right there. Nasty.
Good inning for Gibson.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We don't know when Major League Baseball will ever get back again on the field. We watched some baseball last night, Paul, right? With the
Korean League.
ESPN broadcasting some games in South Korea. But the Rangers, the one thing, no doubt about it, the excitement about what they were able to do to put together their starting pitching staff, and one of those, Kyle Gibson, he joins us on SicEm365 Radio with Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smoke. Kyle, are you biting at the bit? I know it's all about being safe and healthy and all that, but how is this right now for you when you're at camp, you're going through that, and then all of a sudden here's this long wait?
Yeah, it's been different. It's been a little bit of like an extended off season, except doing way more baseball activity obviously consistently than the early off season. But no, it's been good getting some extra family time that we don't normally get. My daughter just turned 8 months today. I'm hopefully going to be around for when she crawls for the first time and stuff like that. So some of those things you might miss, or like my other daughter's kindergarten graduation, stuff like that. So as you can probably hear her in the background, but no, it's been fun, but it's different. I think everybody's ready to play and to feel like you're getting a little bit back to a normal somewhat.
How do you work out and pitch right now to make sure that you're in the proper shape once you guys do start training again?
So we've got a shed on our property that's about 40 by 70, and the local Legion president or leader had a wooden mound that he said they don't use anymore. So I got a wooden mound and bought a little sock net off the internet and set it up at 60-foot sticks, and that's how I throw my bullpens. And then how I've been getting my throwing in is we got something called a Dura throw that goes on my arm, and that's how I do my shoulder program and everything. So play catch into that. I can make long toss, throwing at 90 feet, 180 feet, whatever it is, and then jump on the mound and been up to 50 or 55 pitches and kind of rotate back and forth in bullpens to keep the pitch count up.
What has it been like to, be joining a new team and have, have kind of this newer experience going on? And obviously everything is so messed up. What's the communication like between coaching staff and players at this kind of moment? What are they sort of communicating to you guys about what they expect of you at this time, given that you're not allowed to be around each other?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just stay healthy. Try to do your best to be around the family and keep the family healthy. And then really just try to ramp up a little bit like you would normally do maybe in early February before you get to camp. Try to, hitters, it's a little easier because you're just staying in swinging shape, running and doing some throwing, where pitchers, and especially starting pitchers, you're trying to stay as close to 45 or 50 pitches as you can, assuming that you're going to get 3 outings in spring training, hopefully, whenever we start back up. So, that's been kind of the biggest thing that Woody and Julio have been telling us is, hey, let's just make sure that on our bullpens we're keeping the intensity up and doing up downs and keeping yourself, throwing 3 innings or so that your first outing back we can go 3 innings and then maybe 4 innings and then 5 innings and then hopefully be ready for a game to get you 5 or 6 innings whenever we have an opening day.
You had to go through a couple of things last year to battle. You were talking about staying healthy. How difficult was that last year with some of the problems you had to deal with?
Yeah, that wasn't easy. I put myself through probably more than I should have. But when it comes to being on the mound every fifth day and being there for your team, that's something I've always kind of prided myself on. And looking back on it, wasn't really too smart. When I look back at how I felt in August and September, just being fatigued and physically not in a spot where I was going to be my best whatsoever. But mentally, I still felt like I was doing okay, and I felt like I was executing pitches, and was just kind of running into some rough luck. But the stomach stuff was something I never even thought of facing. It's easy to take certain health things for granted and just assume that you're going to feel good and assume that you can eat whatever you want. And your stomach kind of acts up, and I go through what I went through, where the Rangers have had a few guys go through it. So that was one of the big deciding factors coming to Texas. But it was a little difficult, and I don't know that many people really knew, other than my wife and the training staff and coaching staff, kind of what was going on.
You are joining a pitching staff now that already had Lance Lynn and Mike Minor and Corey Kluber, who I know you've had some duels with there in the AL Central, is there. You guys had to feel pretty confident about what you were going to try out on the mound, and Lyles as well coming aboard as well, 1 through 5.
Yeah, I think there's something that, or this rotation is something that, whether it's a long season or a short season, we have a big advantage. I think we probably have 1 through 5, maybe the best rotation in the American League, and maybe in the whole game. And I think what that does for a team, especially if we've got a couple really strong bullpen guys coming on as well. So if you can we've seen teams have success with shortening games and having lockdown relievers in 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. And when you have a starting staff that can go out there and especially put up early zeros, and then what you're going to get, 5, 6, 7 strong innings. That can really do wonders for an offense to give them confidence and keep the pressure off them. But then, also take the pressure off the bullpen and allow guys to get rest and allow your best guys to not have to throw every day. And I think it's really going to help us whenever we get started up.
Kyle, you've been playing baseball for a long time now. Where did your love stem from? Where did that love for baseball come from in your life?
My dad was a high school baseball coach, and that was some of the earliest memories I had of baseball. And he played just a little bit in junior college, and then came back home and started coaching it. And I remember when I was 4 years old, 4 and 5 years old, going to the high school baseball practices and just being around the game from a young age. But he definitely instilled that passion in my soccer. My sister had a passion for softball as well, and that's just what we did. That was a big part of our family. And, whenever we got past Little League and my dad wanted to do a little bit more competitiveness, he and a few other of his friends decided to buy a little bit of property and build some baseball fields. So he's a surveyor, and they just put it together. And before you knew it, we had a few fields for 5 or 6 teams of kids that really wanted to play on and have some fun. So I was really fortunate to be able to just have parents that were able and willing to sacrifice basically everything and go to the ends of the earth to make it happen.
The shortest height for the Rangers, what looks to be the rotation, Kluber, Minor, Lynn, Gibson, and Lyles, is 6'4". You're 6'6". When I know that this started a few years back, starting pitchers in general got taller and taller and taller. What happened there, Kyle? Was it just because of the leverage and the height and the fastball and all that?
I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I think as we look more into the data, then you can kind of see some numbers that have to do with it that can make it harder on the hitter. I think somewhat it's neutralized a little bit by the swinging up that we've seen and the elevating swing that we've seen. You see, the whole goal of a tall pitcher was to create downward angle and work down in the zone. Well, now guys are swinging up and kind of neutralizing that, where I think it's allowed some shorter guys to have really good carry on their fastball to even have a different approach to the plate. One thing that I've heard a little bit about, I don't understand it all, but vertical approach angle to pitches as they come to the plate. It has to do with how the pitch approaches the hitting zone. And I think tall guys with high release points are able to do different things and to make the ball perceived different by the hitter. So it's way smarter than I am. I just try to lean on the smart guys in the locker room and the clubhouse that are telling me what to do when it comes to it. But I think some of it's just being a little bit closer to home plate and giving the hitter less time to see what's going on.
Kyle, have you always been in the analytics side of thing, or is that something that as it's grown more popular over the last few years that you've gotten more into yourself?
Yeah, I've tried to keep a good solid mix. I don't know my spin rates. I don't know all of the data that goes along with it, mainly because I've never been told that I have one elite spinning pitch. I'm maybe one of the only I'm not even a true sinker baller, but a guy that throws sinkers now. Not many of those guys are even around. So, I think some of the data I can look at. I like to look at exit velo, which isn't necessarily an advanced metric, but there's definitely some things that I've incorporated. I think you'd be kind of silly to not incorporate it. But I think the true saying that I heard from a guy named Mike Pelfrey, if you guys have probably seen him around, but
yeah.
He always told us the hitter will let you know whether it's a good pitch or not, and it's still true. The hitter will let you know if that's a pitch that's going to work in the big leagues or not. And you got to have a good mix of understanding what hitters are looking for and understanding the human side of it, but then understanding what you have. And I think the data is able to tell you kind of how your pitches move, and maybe it can help you, how and when to use them. But at the end of the day, everybody has to stand on the mound and everybody has to execute pitches no matter how good your stuff is. And if you can't do that, your stuff can be really good and you're probably just not going to make it.
I know that you're a competitor and there's not hitters you don't want to face, but is there one guy that you would say, like, if I never had to see this dude again, it would be too soon?
Oh, man. You know what? I'm kind of thankful to get away from the Cleveland Indians a little bit. They seem to have my number, and Nick Goody, he made sure to remind me of that multiple times this spring training. Just seemed like every time they faced me, they all just expected to win the game. But no, there was a few guys. Francisco Lindor, obviously he's a great player, superstar. He kind of has my number a little bit. Jason Kipnis is a guy who, even going back, I faced him in college. It just seemed like he saw the ball well off me, but. Those guys haven't been in the same division for 6 years and probably having the most starts against those guys in the White Sox. It's just, I don't know if it gives the pitcher the advantage or the hitter the advantage, but I think it helps both sides out a little bit. And that's a team that I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit less of for a little bit.
All right. So June 29th, 2013, Kansas City Royals, your debut, and you win your debut. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, that was a really special moment. I was coming off my Tommy John rehab, whereas in 2011, that was kind of the year I was hoping to get called up and establish myself, and then end up with Tommy John at the end of the year. But going through 2013 and Marty Mason, the pitching coach, really helped me out there in AAA with understanding that getting outs in the strike zone was going to be really important in the big leagues. And he spent so many years under Dave Duncan there in St. Louis, but. And then to get called up and to kind of see how your stuff plays and really figure that out was a lot of fun. But, man, I'll never forget that day. I probably had 60 to 65 people that drove from all over the Midwest up to Minneapolis. And the Twins were just such a class organization. They gave me about 6 days lead time before the start. I was called up a full 5 days before I even pitched. So to be able to get my feet wet, get a bullpen in, really get to know some of the guys and to know Joe Mauer, the catcher, and stuff like that was great. And, I just am really thankful for how they handled that, because I wasn't thrown into any situation. It was, hey, we're going to bring you up and give you some lead time so that you're not too anxious and too nervous any more than you're going to be already.
Now, Kyle, thank you. You got a big night ahead. Is that right?
A big night?
Yeah, you said, was your daughter's birthday? I forgot what you said about that.
It's my wife's birthday tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So
yep.
we've got some birthday prep going on now, and I got some decorations to put up tonight, and then a meal to prep tomorrow. So tonight we're going to do a little bit of Taco Tuesday for Cinco de Mayo, and then tomorrow is birthday for Mama. So we're going to make sure everything's wrapped and the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted to make sure Mom has a great day tomorrow.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for your time.
Hey, before we let you go, just wanted to say that in preparation for the interview, was reading about what you've been able to do with Big League Impact in raising money, nearly $1 million. And this was an article from like a couple of weeks ago, so I'm sure it surpassed that as well. But to help feed school kids that are impacted by COVID-19, you along with Adam Wainwright and Big League Impact, I just wanted to say good work, man. And that's great to see, and just very cool that you're involved with that and doing that and raising money. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's something that Wayno's done a great job on, and I've been, a privilege to be a part of. So, looking forward to bringing more Big League Impact events to Dallas, and to really let the Dallas metro area kind of see what Big League Impact does, and pick some good organizations to help down there. So, something my wife and I are really passionate about, and I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Kyle Gibson of the Rangers, a part of that rotation where they really, with John Daniels and Miners back and Lynn back. And then they added with the trade for Corey Kluber, Kyle Gibson, 32-year-old free agent, and Jordan Lyles as well.
We just heard a Rangers pitcher say that he thinks they have the best staff 1 through 5 in the AL and perhaps in baseball. I mean, that's in this. I mean, look, who would have said that last year? I mean, that shows you the changes they've made this offseason, and I don't know if that'll hold true or not, but I do feel a lot better about their pitching staff, and we'll see how the ball plays in this new ballpark, because I'm sure it'll have its own unique tweaks or differences from what they've been accustomed to for so long, like every ballpark does. But yeah, they've got a pretty salty rotation, just so long as Kluber's more of the Kluber that we remember, and guys haven't fallen off. But I like what I see on paper.
When we come back, Matt Maxon, he's the producer of this documentary series on ESPN, The Last Dance. He's next on SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Hi, this is Gerald High School football coach Amos Davidson, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
The look away to Livingston. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. That's 13 consecutive field goals.
It has been for me someone that has admitted that I have not watched nearly as much television the last 6 to 8 weeks, especially since we started to lean towards and getting this new talk show launched on SicEm365. On occasion, you've heard me say I've had the Food Network in the background. I watched the Tiger Woods last round of the Masters one Sunday. But Sunday night, I have an alarm that goes off that reminds me of the next 2 episodes of The Last Dance of the Michael Jordan Bulls, and we're now joined by the producer, Matt Maxon, who produced The Last Dance with us, Paul Catalina, David, and Craig Smoke at radio. How much did that affect anything you were doing because of the thirst of people needing something to grab?
With getting the editors, footage, helping set up everybody's system so that everybody could edit the show. And so over the course of a couple weeks in New York, we went from having 4 edit rooms with 4 editors, our director there working in the office, to instantaneously having to come up with, okay, we need to finish the last 2 episodes here. We still need to get everything delivered to ESPN, and we've got about 6 to 8 weeks to do it. And how are we going to do that? And out of nowhere, it was a real crazy thing to kind of come up with. How's that workflow going to happen? But we got it together, and real credit to our team working with it. Real credit to all the people at ESPN for making that happen. And they were really supportive and knowing that people wanted to see this and get it done.
How much of this story did you think you knew as you started out producing it, and then how much more did you learn throughout this process?
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. So the part I knew about it was John Paxson breaking my heart in 1993. I remember that shot. As you guys saw in episode 6, there's Dan Marley down in the corner. It pretty much just throws his hands. And I remember that. That was like the first big cry I had as a kid because of sports. And so for me, growing up, Michael Jordan was public enemy number 1. And then as the second three-peat started to happen, I remember in 98, Suns had kind of waned. Charles Barkley had gone off to Houston. Jason Kidd was a star there now. And I remember fully rooting for the Suns for the Bulls in that series against Utah. And so what I knew kind of going into this was that over the course of getting ready for it, we read some of the books that detail the dynasty's chronicles. We read Jordan Rules. We read David Halberstam's Playing for Keeps, which luckily actually followed the same season that our story has a story on from beginning to end. And so you quickly find out that, there's so much going on behind the scenes of that team and the drama that was building there that, I didn't really know because there were parts of it that were on ESPN and SportsCenter, and I'm sure we're at the top of the tabloids for the Chicago Sun-Times, but they weren't making their way outside of the Chicagoland area. So a lot of it was real new to me. And who is Jerry Krause? Figuring out who that guy was and what made him, what's where I'm looking for, this hated character in Chicago who was actually just probably a guy who just wanted to be one of the guys. What made Tony Kukoc, from being one of the best foreign players to, another guy who was going to be a public enemy with Michael. You started to really dig in and learn all these stories. I didn't know as much about Steve Kerr's background as I did when I dug into it. I didn't know that he was born in Lebanon and, made his way there as a son of a professor from Middle East Studies. So it's a lot that we learned. And I think that was a really good thing, is that you got to learn how unique each of these characters were.
Matt, as somebody who worked on the project, a kind of a two-part question here, just on your end and the people that you worked with, what has it been like to sit back and see the overwhelmingly positive reaction to what's been airing each Sunday? I mean, it's become a phenomenon in many ways, but when did you, I guess with Michael Jordan being part of some subject matter, you know it's got a chance to be pretty good, but you know, what's the reaction been like on your end, and when did you kind of feel like, hey, this is going to be special?
We knew early on that the material we had was going to be good. And we also knew after that first interview with Michael that it was going to be good. You know, when he's so candid and so personable and so good in his storytelling that, you know, you're like, well, this is going everywhere you want it to be. You know, you are always as good as your interviews are going to be. And Jason did an amazing job of getting Michael, and Michael did an amazing job of being a storyteller for us and allowing us to tell his story. And that's when you're kind of like, okay, this is going to be good. It wasn't until you start to settle in and that first episode's airing and you see Twitter. The one thing I kind of just remember feeling was, for me, I have my sports Twitter, I've got my TV production Twitter, I've got my politics Twitter, and all of a sudden it was all about the last thing. And it was just all positive. And you're just like, wow, this is something you can't prepare for. It was crazy.
You've done something with this, and I've enjoyed it because you sometimes you don't forget where you are in Jordan's career or with the Bulls and what the story is, but you've been able to kind of subtly shift from the 96 team or whatever it might be, 98, whatever, and then kind of from maybe 8 or 9 years earlier. Was that something that you just felt was going to be what you wanted to do? How did that come about?
Well, we knew that the 98 season was going to be the thread of this. Ever since we had the film that NBA shot back in 1998, NBA knew that it was likely going to be Michael's final season with the Bulls. So they got his permission to shoot behind the scenes. So we knew that we had these 500 hours of behind the scenes footage. And then it became, what are we going to do with it? And Jason and our team, they came up with the idea that it's going to be two storylines. It's going to be the A storyline of 1998 and the B storyline of Michael through his career converging in 1998. And the question is, how do you best do that? And we kind of felt like as linearly as you can tell it, the 98 storyline is linearly, and the 1984 Michael story as linearly as you can do it is the best way. But obviously that doesn't always make itself easy, especially with someone who is a complex background story. It's Dennis Rodman, where you have to kind of like get him to the Bulls. And so we were very much aware that time was going to be something that could be very confusing and jarring. And so we made sure that we had, you know, graphical elements that could help assist people in getting them through there, and that we were going to be as not confusing as possible whenever we could be.
It's almost as if you guys have like Venn diagrams of this thing in 98 overlaps to this thing in 91 or 92, or this goes back to now, and how much, because Michael Jordan, he's like an elephant man. He never forgets. So there were so many things throughout his career that happened that he carried with him every step of the way. Were you surprised that he is, vindictive is not the right word with Isaiah Thomas, but still mad about that 30 years later?
I think the thing that really surprised me was how good his memory was. Like, you could bring up a game or something and he would remember it, like the date to the arena, to what he was wearing. There's a funny story. We never make it into the film. But Bill Wennington tells a story about how there's a photo of him and his son. And Michael looked at the photo and goes, oh, that's from, I'm going to blank on the years because I'm not Michael, but he goes, oh, that was the 96 season. And Bill's like, how do you remember that? He goes, oh, that was the tie I wore. I remember I wore that one to that one, and I don't wear the same thing twice. And it was just this crazy thing where it's just like he remembers so many of these things. I barely remember what I had for breakfast today. But he's just so amazingly aware of every moment, and he just has this innate memory that, so like you're going to say, like, how does he remember all these quote unquote flights? It's because he remembers everything. So there's no way that it's going to get past him, whether it be Isaiah or, remembering that the media picked Charles to be like that. So it just sort of crazy how his mind works like that and how he uses it as motivation.
How much stuff is on the cutting room floor, Matt? I mean, you guys have got so much information packed in, but I can imagine it was probably extremely difficult just the editing process.
So the good news is I think we all feel, and especially our editors and Jason, that nothing we wanted to be in the show didn't make it in.
Gotcha.
And that's a crazy feat to really feel. Now, what's on the cutting room floor? I can tell you guys that there's like 10,000 hours of footage that we worked on. We had over 100 interviews, at least 200 hours of interviews. Like, and that's just original, but interviews that we shot, plus archival interviews. Old TV shows that we waded through, in games, let alone games, and we didn't even try to load in every game that was possible. So, it was definitely difficult to get it down to that, but I don't think that there's anything that we're like, hey, this didn't make it. I know a lot of people wish that there was more of the Monte Carlo practice. That I think that came up on Twitter the other day, but I can tell you that that's pretty much as good as it got from that.
I remember, and only because I'm old enough to do this, that when I was in television, remembering going to shoot a story, and I used to shoot too much of it. And I eventually learned that that doesn't mean I always knew what the story was going to be, but I learned to shoot, in a way that it saved me so much frustration of going through the video. Back when they had 3/4-inch tapes, of course. You have all of this. It's mind-boggling to me that you're able to turn it into something where I've watched every single minute of the first 6 episodes, and that's a big deal because I can get away my attention pretty quickly. I've not missed a second. And that you've been able to do it, and I'm not saying this because you're joining us, though, Matt. I mean this in the most sincere way, that I have not felt like there was something missing. I've always liked it when the next episode's over at the end of the weekend, I'm like, but I can't explain how impressive that is.
I mean, we're lucky. We had a good team. We had a good director who had a great vision. It all just kind of worked out. In terms of like feeling that it's complete, I think that we were all working on it for 2 years. And we had so many sets of eyes on it that we made sure, and I think everybody made sure that they knew the story well. And that way that we could tell it in a way that got everything in and didn't leave anything. And then on top of it, you're realizing that, you have the best storytellers. Those Bulls teams between Michael, Scotty, Phil, like those guys are amazing storytellers that if you just let them tell it, it's going to be great.
Matt was also a producer on The Circus, which is a 25-episode docuseries about the 2016 election, which I can't imagine. And that was, you're kind of doing that in real time and coming out with that really fast. So that's a completely different thing. But you also did the fantastic HBO documentary about Andre the Giant, which was just really, really good and really engaging as well. As a documentarian, when you're looking at these subjects, what do you want to grab when you're first starting out that will get the story that you're trying to tell across early on, so people get what you guys are going for?
Well, you want to make sure that you capture what that person was about, and I think you brought up Andre. Andre was a wrestler who had a tough life, and you wanted to make sure that but he wasn't like a sad person. Like, I don't think there was anything sad about like the way he lived his life. So you wanted it to be joyous and fun and entertaining. And that was another project we worked on with Jason on. And I think he was really good at conveying that. That was one of the first long form narrative documentaries that I had ever worked on. I'd done The Circus prior, like you had said, which was a real time documentary, which is just kind of like, okay, we're going to hone in, we're going to follow, we're going to be a fly on the wall, and you're going to let the story tell itself. So when you're doing something that's a little bit more character driven and a lot more story based, it was kind of set out to make that story. And Jason was really candid in explaining, what we were doing with each piece of it. So we set out to chronicle Andre's story in a way that he was going to be it was going to be fun. It was going to be entertaining, and it was going to be the way he lived his life, which I think that film does a good job of doing. Obviously he's got injuries. Obviously he succumbs to his illness probably before his time, something that was certainly reversible. But you didn't want to stick on it too much because that just wasn't who he was. So we sat down for a little bit and talked through, and we're just like, hey, he was an amazing performer, a person who was essential at changing, professional wrestling as we know it, sports entertainment, helping Vince McMahon launch WrestleMania into what it was, and gone too early.
Yeah, no question. We just had this on the text line, by the way, from Leon. You've kept my attention. Tell Matt, you've kept my attention because I had forgotten how great Michael was and how hard he worked at it. And there are some that I never have forgotten. He's the greatest I've ever watched, and I've seen them all because I'm 61 years old. But, maybe some forgot, and it's allowed everyone to understand how great he was and perhaps how come and why. The great ones are the ones that are the most driven. And there's no question that's been documented.
Yeah, no, I think someone asked me earlier, like, what did you learn about Michael in this, or how do you think he'll be remembered? And I think that's the thing if I was going to suggest how he'd be remembered, is probably the most competitive player in the NBA history. He definitely was never going to be outworked, and he was never going to let his teammates not rise to his level. I think Steve Kerr said it really well, which is just like he could understand if you didn't have the same talent that he did. He was never going to understand if he didn't work as hard as he did. And I think every member of that team, rose to that level. And it's crazy when you think about, like, yeah, he led the league in scoring. He was, 4-time NBA MVP, MVP. But he was also a defensive player of the year.
Yep.
And so that's just like a crazy, accolade for a player, that he was going to be blue collar and he was going to work hard. And that was, I think, is something he learned from his parents, learned from playing with his brothers, learned from at UNC with Dean Smith, who wasn't going to let anyone not work as hard as they could. And that was just like something that he kept with him his whole career.
Is it kind of ripe for a documentary like this now, outside of the fact that we don't have any sports? But one of the debates has been, who's the best? Is it the Jordan versus LeBron debate just rages on, and there's a whole generation of people who are picking LeBron just because they never saw Jordan.
I mean, there was definitely some thought that we were going to make sure that if you are 40 years old watching this, or if you're 13 years old watching this, you want it to be accessible to them. And you want, the 13-year-old girl watching with her dad to be as entertained as the dad is. So you wanted to make sure that people knew who this guy was, who made a difference for him. But also, like, we weren't going in here to try and settle a debate. Like, we know that, first of all, LeBron's career is not done. And second of all, that's not what we were trying to tell. We were trying to tell the story of sports dynasties of all time. And that's a team that we all grew up watching, whether we loved them or hated them. But it was something that if you grew up in the 90s, there was no escaping Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls.
Final thing, you mentioned how you had to increase the number of editing stations or whatever. So are you done? Are episodes 9 and 10 in the can? Okay.
Yeah, so we finished up a couple weeks ago. We are still in the process of getting them delivered. So there's still like some watching and QCing and stuff that goes from there. But yeah, no, they're done. And it's been, I think this was a fun watch this weekend to know that they were all done. And, you're sitting down with 1 and 2 and you're still waiting for 10 to be approved. But it's been really nice to sit back and watch this with everything off your shoulders.
Matt, we appreciate it. Matt Maxon, he's the producer of The Last Dance. Next episodes, number 7 and 8, will run 8 o'clock Central, starting the 2 hours back-to-back on May 10th. That's this Sunday, and then the following Sunday, wrapping up episodes 9 and 10. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on what you've done.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Matt Maxon with us on SicEm365. We had Rick Tellender, remember, from the Chicago Sun-Times. He was fantastic the day after the first 2 episodes. Will Perdue will join us next Tuesday after episodes 7 and 8, among some others that we'll have to help spotlight what was a much-needed, I think, view for a lot of people thirsty for any kind of sports. It's 4:38. Don't forget at 5 o'clock, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. 5:30, John McClain, the Houston Chronicle. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac is celebrating over 21 years serving Waco and Central Texas. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. They disinfect the showroom daily. They closely monitor employee health, and they make sure that hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency. Richard Carr's sales staff will also bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete financing online. Right now, they have the all-new 2020 Buick Encores and Enclaves in stock for 0%, 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They also have the 2020 GMC line of Sierras, Acadias, Terrains, and Canyons, all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They're your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni, and they want the chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35, marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread, fresh carrots and Idaho or red beet potatoes or white onions, pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. By the way, just heard from Brian Bauer. The drive-thru is now open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. And you can now order the live crawfish again. If you order on Thursday, you can have it for you on Friday. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish for your crawfish boil. They're back. Waco Custom Marketplace drive-thru Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store. The Wedding Ring Store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hi, this is Steve Huff, head football coach, College Station High School, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
You know that question on the premium content, one of the questions about who will lead Baylor in rushing yards in the 2020 season. I put it up on Twitter that poll, and Lovett had a huge lead on Ebner, and then after that a drop off to Brewer, Quaylen Jones, Dustin Bird listening on the show, whatever happened to Squirrel Williams. And he's on the roster. In fact, we discussed him a little bit. He's an explosive player. There was a play he made, I guess, his first year, kind of like a jet sweep where he scored. He's very explosive, but Craig, he could just never get on the field.
Yeah, it's not a mystery what happened to Squirrel Williams. He just was unhealthy all of last year, and that's why the questions about like where's Squirrel kind of got annoying after 8 weeks or so of the same updates of he's still hurt, don't know what to tell you, he's still hurt, week 12, he's still hurt, and that's just the way that it was. I mean, there was nothing else to it. It was just clear as day. He could not get healthy, so that's where he is, that's where he's been, that's where he hopefully will not be for quite some time, because they could really use his contributions, and they were not afforded those contributions much at all last year.
And he scored a touchdown, I guess it was. It
was like K-State, wasn't it? It was like a big game-winning touchdown. I think in the long run it ended up being the game-winning touchdown when we had hardly seen any of him. But, yeah, he had a big-time carry in that game, if I'm remembering correctly. That
21-yard touchdown run against K-State, also played against Texas that year, but then did not play at all due to injury throughout last year. And Matt Rule on occasion would bring it up. Everything they thought he was close, it didn't work out. But he'll be a part of that mixture, I guess, in 2020. All right, so the NFL has these options, contingency plans for the 2020 ceremony for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The first exhibition game is August the 6th. Paul, that going to happen?
I don't think so.
Cowboys against Pittsburgh and Canton,
who
Ohio.
cares? Yeah. Who cares? These preseason games.
Well, I know this is more about the induction ceremony. And there's great question. No question. The 5 different contingency plans. 1, push the game and the ceremony to a point later in August if the NFL scales back its preseason. Okay. If the game is canceled, the other options that haven't been ruled out for 2021, staging the enshrinement during Easter weekend the following spring, or inducting 2 classes as one, which is already a big class, right?
Yeah, they already have like 20 people there inducting because of the senior candidates and all of that. So this was already supposed to be like the longest ceremony of all time for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if I'm remembering this correctly. And you add another class to that, that's going to be like a half a day of just induction speeches if they were to go that route.
You'd have to do it like a week.
Yeah, it would be like a 2-night event. Yeah.
Yeah, just have these 5 guys, just have Monday through Friday.
5 guys a day.
5 guys a day.
Here's another one. If the Cowboys-Steelers exhibition is scratched, the enshrinement for 5 modern-day selections, 2 coaches, 3 contributors, could be combined with the unique centennial celebration that is slated for September 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. The league was founded on September 17th of 1920. So that weekend would be the 100 and what would that be? The 200, that would be the 100th anniversary. Mm-hmm. So that might be one of the alternatives according to David Baker. Is it
David Baker?
David Baker, who runs the the executive director of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, let me ask you this question about, and this is on theathletic.com. It's really a place I go to quite a bit now and get a lot of stories. Could college football have a season, but not everybody plays?
I think so. I think that there is certainly enough political capital that they could get it done to where if Gavin Newsom isn't going to open California, then the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 and the Big 10 can say, well, our states are open, we're going to play.
Can you have a championship?
Sure.
I mean, they have championships now without any California schools, so I don't know why they can't do it without any California schools.
You know, the junior college and the California schools is a separate entity.
Yeah, well, and look, the Pac-12 would be in a lot of trouble if something like that. I think that's the most likely scenario because...
What about splitting the money, the television? I know each conference has their deal, but let's say you do a season, and instead of 113 or 15 Division I schools, you have 75. Do the other 40 still get the same revenue?
No, they didn't play. They had nothing to do with anything of a season, so no, they absolutely should not get any of the money. It should be those who choose to move forward. Now, that should not be a carrot dangling for people to be reckless and decide we're going to come back just because we need the money, which some athletic departments may be in that kind of a pinch, but I don't think it'll be that. It'll be those who feel comfortable doing so, and the money will be an aspect of it, but I mean, you can have a college football season without those schools, and if they're not going to take part, and it's their decision ultimately not to take part, regardless of whether the government's telling them to or not, you didn't play this season, so what money do you feel like you're owed for this season?
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
The Pac-12 has spanned 6 states. Mm-hmm. The Big 12 has 6 states. The ACC has 10. The SEC's.
The ACC's probably biggest problem, as I don't know what the deal is Syracuse and Boston College.
They stink anyways.
Yeah, well, but outside of that, look, 2 of the big schools are in Florida and Georgia. All the big schools are Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina in that conference, and all those states don't have the same restrictions that Massachusetts or New York does. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a contingency plan that says, look, the schools that can play, and they've got to have worked on that now.
I don't think you could do that without everybody still getting revenue.
I mean, maybe that is. Maybe somebody gets a cut, but they don't maybe get as large of a cut because they didn't play. But it is out of there. In California, every university president could come together and say, we would like to play football under the same conditions that they are in all these other states. And Gavin Newsom could just say no. Bottom line.
This is Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner. There's a spirit of cooperation when it comes to college football in particular, a strong bias towards making sure we do this together. We're all members of the college football playoff. If we're going to have a playoff at the end of the season, we need to have uniformity on how we have a season. Now, that doesn't mean everybody agrees with him.
Well,
John Swofford, we're in 10 states. Theoretically, we could have half of our schools being allowed to play at a certain point, the other half not being able to. Hopefully it won't turn out that way, but it could. In any combination of play and not play, then we would have some decisions as any conference would.
Yeah, I think ultimately they're all going to find a way to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if the California schools can't play, I don't see how you shut down everybody else who says they can play. So, yeah, I mean, it's stating the obvious, Larry Scott, that we want everybody to be involved. Well, duh. I mean, nobody's like looking to say, hey, can't wait to kick out the California schools and go play football without those guys. Everybody wants to be involved. Everybody wants everybody involved because the alternative is a cluster of trying to figure out how to manage with these new changes. So, yeah, you want it as close as possible, but I'm sorry if 49 states or 47 states are saying, hey, we're ready to open our stadiums up, whether that includes fans or not, but we're ready to host football games. But California, Oregon, and Washington, for example, are saying, yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think the other 47 are going to go, the SEC, the Big 12, and are going to be like, well, gosh, if USC and UCLA can't play, then I think we should probably just not do anything either.
I would think the simplest way to put it is, okay, this is going to help ward off a potential catastrophe of college athletics. Are you really not going to do everything you can to ward off that catastrophe because a couple states, because it's different, just like it's different in every country. You know, things are different in Korea. They're different here. They're different in Italy. They're different in Russia and all that stuff. So you can't, like, we can't have the same rules as England does because we're not England. Just like, you know, Nebraska doesn't have the same rules as California because they're different. So, again, if everybody's ready to go but some schools, they're just going to have to find a way to placate that and move on, which is money.
Greg Sankey, SEC Commissioner. My focus has been on the preparation as is, because then if you have to adjust, you'll be in a much better position. If you're prepared to go forward as scheduled, you can adjust from there as opposed to trying to prepare for adjustments and then coming back to an original date. Great stuff. I mean, it's just, no, the catastrophe is if college football is not played and they lose the season, and they're not going to lose the season, after losing the money from the NCAA tournament, Baylor, I was told very, very early on, 10 years ago when I arrived, less than 10 years ago, they have more money than you'll ever realize. I'm not saying that they have the largest, what do you call it, that like Stanford has, what is
Endowment.
that? Endowment. But when they need it, they'll find it. And even Baylor right now has made these decisions to have to make some changes and not do this or be careful of this or whatever. All these universities, this is huge.
But it's not, okay, yeah, there's universities with money, there's universities without. If they don't have a college football season, if they didn't, essentially when you're starting college athletics again, you are starting completely over. That's what you have to look at. Individual athletic department by athletic department, title line and all that. How many sports can we have? Okay, we can afford 6 right now. These are the sports that we're going to have. And 6 is an arbitrary number, but you get what I'm saying. If you don't have a college football season to buoy this, then you're essentially saying, okay, we've got to start completely over when we're open again.
Baseball, the Hall of Fame, last week announced the cancellation of their July 25th enshrinement in Cooperstown, New York.
I mean, I think a better story is who hasn't canceled something at this point. All due respect, I mean, that's another announcement. There's been several of those, but that's basically what every single entity or organization who's had any type of event coming up has done within the last 3 weeks. So that's almost the norm. And saying, hey, we're actually going to try something is like whoa, wait, you're going to try to do something? You're not going to just sit and wait till you're told that you can go do something. And so, yeah, to me, those are the outliers now, or those are actually just not shutting everything down. There's so many ifs. There's so many who knows. There's so many what ifs. I actually am feeling like there's more positivity right now, numbers-wise. While the infection rate's going up, that's expected because there's more testing. So, you got people who are just losing their minds over this with every little update and what have you. But I'm feeling optimistic about everything, and I feel like we're going to have a college football season. I mean, we're all talking about it. No one knows anything really, so it's kind of a pointless exercise in some ways, just because all of us talking about it have no control over it actually. But at the same time, I feel confident that they're going to get a season in. What that looks like, how many games, I don't know, but they're not going to miss the NCAA tournament and football season back to back. I don't foresee that in any way.
And as testing, the goal is to get to 5 million tests a week in America, which we're not close to right now. But as testing goes up, not only will the numbers go up, but we'll also find out where the virus is legitimately traveling. If it's still doing that, or if it's camped out.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a concern because apparently there's an offspring potentially of COVID, which has got a little bit of a mutation to it. But that's just something that's going to come with diseases and things like that. But yeah, I'm trying to be more optimistic over here actually, which I'm not typically that guy, I guess, most of the time. And I was one of those that was a little bit more on the lookout for COVID right when it was first starting to kick off, before Rudy Gobert got sick and all of that. But, haven't seen the numbers, haven't read a lot. I'm feeling good about the chance of watching some football. Maybe not real soon, but sooner rather than later, and sooner than most people probably expected a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and of course, Governor Abbott mentioned some things today. This is from Jim Vertuno with Associated Press. Texas to allow outdoor high school graduation ceremonies with local social distancing guidelines. Less than a week into his slow reopening of Texas, Governor Abbott outlining all the new places he wants to let open in the next few days to 2 weeks. Some of the golf courses were able to open up yesterday. Gyms can open up 25% capacity May 18th. Again, that just kind of depends. The showers and locker rooms will mean closed. And then you get into you got to wear gloves if you're going to work out at the gym. And then also starting this Friday, Texas hair salons, nails, barbers, tanning salon, all that opens up. Let me tell you something. You want to get this thing ended, you start having women who can't get their hair cut and get their nails done. You don't want to lose that vote.
No.
It's 4:58. When we come back at 5 o'clock, we'll have David Helman, DallasCowboys.com at 5:30. John McClain. This is SicEm365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Hi, this is Charlie Roten, head football coach at Rogers High School, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com, Principal Office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Fake it to Pollard. Pass is floated. Touchdown, Jarwin.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, I saw this note. The Giants have claimed Cooper Rush off waivers.
Red-headed quarterbacks must unite with each other. They got to stick together. If one gets a job, they got to make sure the other one gets a job and goes to the same place that his former employer was.
I saw that because David Helman who's now joined us from DallasCowboys.com. I can't make it up. Yeah, you can't, can you, David?
No way. The truth is always funnier than fiction. Football coaches, there's one thing I've learned. Football coaches have their guys. It's not a coincidence that Jeff Heath is in Las Vegas where Rod Marinelli and Rich Bisaccia work, and it's not a coincidence that Cooper Rush is now a New York Giant.
David, we're a couple weeks out from the draft. The Cowboys have, had their draft, which really fell well to them. They went and got Andy Dalton. Is this showing you a shift on maybe what the coaching staff prefers, or is this more front office stuff? Dave, you there?
Guess we lost David Helman of DallasCowboys.com. Probably get him back on here in just a second.
He had a call from Ed Orgeron. Incoming call, Ed Orgeron.
He's a big LSU fan. So, in the meantime, while we try to reconnect with him, we were talking about movies earlier today, and I did get this response from my lovely mother. She was talking about favorite sports scenes, Brian's Song, and that's a really sad movie. So, I don't know. That's probably not going to be the most popular choice for, favorites. But if you're into the sad stuff, then I guess it would be a favorite. Let's see. Billy D. Williams' acceptance speech. Of course, Billy D. was playing Gale Sayers. Number 2, the end scene with Piccolo and Sayers. And then number 3, Sayers' speech to the team. So my mother is clearly a Brian Song fan, and those were her sports movie moments that she thoroughly enjoyed. So
yeah, Brian Piccolo. That story in itself, that's 1971.
Yeah, long time ago.
Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo and the great connection, the friendship in 1971. James Caan played Brian Piccolo. Billy D. Williams was the star and played Gale Sayers as well. Trying to track down David Helman. We lost him. Oh, is that? Adam Schefter had this quote from Andy Dalton. Okay, you got him?
Yes.
All right.
You back?
Hey, sorry, everybody.
Yeah. No, that's okay. You were bringing up how people end up where they're with people who they're comfortable with and vice versa. The Andy Dalton signing, was that a no-brainer?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think, the question Paul was getting to before I lost my signal was, are we starting to see preferences for what this new regime likes? And I think it's very obvious because, I think the Andy Dalton signing is a no-brainer. I also don't think the Cowboys would have done it during Jason Garrett's tenure. I think they would have said, we feel really good and comfortable with what we have in Cooper Rush. It's probably why Cooper Rush is a New York Giant now. And I think they would have said, no, we're fine with what we have. Meanwhile, you put Mike McCarthy in charge and you say, oh, wow, this guy, he lives in Dallas. He has started 9 seasons. He's thrown 200 touchdowns and played 130 games, and he's not asking for that much money. Hell yeah, this is a no-brainer. And it's really refreshing. I think this entire offseason has been marked by the Cowboys doing smart things that I don't think they would have done under Jason Garrett's watch.
David, just as far as, your biggest questions that still linger, what is out there for you? What have they not addressed? What do you have curiosity about moving forward?
It's hard to get really inspired by this defense. I don't think it's better on paper than it was last season, and it wasn't all that great last season. You lose Robert Quinn to free agency. They didn't really address it in a way that makes you feel great. I mean, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle with Alden Smith or Randy Gregory, but that doesn't feel like a safe bet to me. The safety spot and the cornerback spot for that matter. I mean, I know they drafted Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson, but again, at the end of the day, you're still talking about unknown commodities. And we'll see what they get out of Dontari Poe and Gerald McCoy. I like a lot of the stuff that they've done. I think they were smart additions, but it's hard for me to look at it right now and say that this is a better unit than it already was. And again, it wasn't all that impressive last year. So I think this is going to be a team that is driven mainly by the potential of its offense more so than the defense.
Yeah, they got so many weapons. It's just unbelievable, but it seems like the weather changes, whatever else, whether you're playing games on the road indoors or not, or home, that they're just going to I asked. I don't know if I asked this to you last week or not. If I did, I apologize. But had they had CeeDee Lamb and
Kalief
Chasen ranked right even with each other, like right there. Both of them had the same draft grade, same like number 5 or 6 on the board, whatever. Would they still have gone with Lamb?
I think I lost you for one part of that. I'm sorry.
If CeeDee Lamb and Kalief Chasen were ranked on their board identical, like exactly the same, and they both were available at 17, would they have still gone with the offense?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, and that's, never in my wildest dreams did I think CeeDee Lamb would be the receiver that fell. But it was easy for me to imagine a scenario where Henry Ruggs is there, the Alabama receiver, who he's a very good player. He went 12th overall. He's incredibly fast. I'm not sure that he's as polished as CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. And so you have the choice between him or Kalief Chasen. I think they probably take the defender in that situation. It's a bigger need. And if the tags are close, you're typically going to lean towards your bigger need. But I think that says a lot about just how good CeeDee Lamb might be that, from all indications, it really wasn't even much of a debate. And that's what makes it so exciting because I don't, not to throw too much dirt on the previous coaching staff, but I don't know that it would have been as obvious of choice between Lamb and Chasen under the old regime because it seemed like they tended to get really focused in on the guy that they liked. It would have been fascinating to see what they would have done in that scenario.
Did drafting Tyler Biadasz mean that they think Connor McGovern is a guard, or is it just throw more people into the mix at center?
I think Stephen Jones had a great line. Not surprisingly, Biadasz played at Wisconsin, so Mike McCarthy's lived up there for a decade. He's very familiar with him. Supposedly, Mike McCarthy really kind of spoke up on that pick and said, let's make sure we get this right. And I take that to mean not necessarily that anybody is predestined to get any job, but the more capable bodies that you have to handle the situation, the better off you'll feel. I'd be surprised if Biadasz goes in there and takes that job in the near future between Joe Looney and the other options, but I think it's just one more guy that can help you handle it. And honestly, I'm fascinated to see how all that shakes out because you throw Connor Williams into the mix. There's 4 or 5 guys that could land in multiple different spots along the offensive line.
David, I know it's been a few days now, but CeeDee Lamb rocking number 88, obviously a historically important number in Cowboys franchise history. Just curious your point of view, your thoughts as somebody who has been around the Cowboys for so long on the importance of 88 and the placement of that number on a rookie like CeeDee Lamb and what expectations that means.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a huge legacy number, and it's very reminiscent of when they did it with Dez Bryant. They gave him 88 very soon after he was drafted to kind of uphold the tradition. I think it's cool. I really dig legacy numbers, and I'm not worried at all that CeeDee Lamb can live up to that. If the Cowboys were willing to give Dez 88 right off the bat, then I don't see why they would hesitate with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, me personally, I thought it would have been cool to see him. He said initially that he was thinking about wearing number 10. I thought it would be cool to see him in a new number. There's not really anybody associated with the number 10 in Cowboys lore. And on top of that, at the end of the day, it's only been 2 years since Dez Bryant played for this team. When Dez got drafted, they were a little more removed from any of the pertinent 88s. So I thought it would be cool to see CD wear 10, but I'm not worried about him flinching from the expectations of 88 whatsoever.
What did he wanted 10, right?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting point. It was like a little mini controversy there where people were saying let him wear the number that he wants to wear. I mean, nobody for sure that I'm aware of knows exactly what he wanted. He said number 10, but also, as a rookie who just got drafted, you don't know what the Cowboys will and won't let you do. What's to say that he just didn't want to say 88 because he didn't think he could have it? I mean, how would people have responded if Ezekiel Elliott had said he wanted to wear 22 right after he got drafted? I'm not sure that would go over very well. So, I think it's a bit of an overreaction to say CeeDee Lamb didn't want to wear 88. I'd have to talk to him to know that for sure. But, in a situation where we're all stuck at home, I think we got to come up with things to argue about.
All right. To that end, we had the question today asked to us, favorite sports movie moment. Not sports movie, but the moment in a movie. So, remember the Titans locker room speech, Al Pacino, Any Given Sunday. What's yours, Dave?
Oh, God. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of them. Actually, I watched Bull Durham for the first time in a long time the other night, and there's just so many great moments in that movie. But it's like one moment that sticks out to me. I can't say it on radio, but it's in the movie Major League, where they all find out that, the owner's trying to get them all fired, and the guy's like, well, I guess there's only one thing left to do.
Yeah.
That scene sticks out to me. I love that scene.
We're on internet radio. You can go ahead and say I know you're not going to, but
okay, cool.
you would have been fair game if you so chose.
I mean, I'll say it if you want me to.
No, you're all good.
Yeah.
It won't mean as much now.
No,
it won't.
Yeah, you're right. I built it up too much.
Hey, do you know whether or not, and I'm just going back to Dalton again, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. Had it not been Dallas, do you know what other teams were interested in him that wanted perhaps him to be their insurance policy?
Honest, I don't have a list of names handy, but I do know that he was offered better money. But again, this is a really it goes without saying, this is such a unique situation. But I really think it was as easy as, I know Andy Dalton went to TCU, but he also owns a home in Dallas. I mean, he's no stranger to the area. And when you think about the amount of uncertainty obviously it's facing sports, but when are his kids going to go back to school? What is that going to look like? It's not a surprise to me that he was like, well, let me just stay here in a city that I already know, where my family doesn't have to readjust to a completely new lifestyle while being quarantined. I mean, that sounds like a nightmare to say. And, I don't know who offered him money, but I mean, imagine saying, okay, kids, we're moving to Seattle. Never mind the fact that we can't leave the house and we don't know when anything's going to reopen. I mean, that just sounds tough. I think it makes a lot of sense with the way things are with COVID-19. And he's like, hey, I can, hang out in a city that I'm already very familiar with, make a little bit of money, kind of survey the landscape, and improve my stock for when I can try this again next year.
Anything else?
Nope.
Greg? Paul?
Yep.
David, thank you, sir. Appreciate your feedback and insight. Mondays with us, or Tuesdays with us at 5 o'clock. David Helman of DallasCowboys.com. Hey, tomorrow, a couple of the things. Andrew Billings, former Baylor defensive lineman. He will join us tomorrow. Mac Rhodes, who normally joins us on Tuesdays, he will join us tomorrow. Also tomorrow, we'll hear more from the Dave Aranda Zoom media availability, which is around 2:30 tomorrow. And North Carolina head football coach Mac Brown is going to join us in the first hour tomorrow as well. Those are just some of the names for tomorrow's show, but we're not done. So I put this up earlier or over the weekend on the high school football greatest. And this is something where we could honestly go for 3 hours. But I put it up on SicEm365.com, the greatest players, teams, and rivalries in Texas high school football history. If you would like, and this is something that is just right now nominations. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer, but just nominations. So if you want to go to SicEm365.com, I have that thread in both the premium site, but also in the other site, which is in the football site, if you want to be a part of that. And you could also, if you want, on our text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and also on the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com, you can do that as well. This is SicEm365 Radio. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Luke Howard, head football coach at Gatesville High School. You're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Ideal MRI, title sponsor of SicEm365 Radio. And this morning, this is not something that's a commercial that's expected to be on the log, it's commercial log, whatever. But I wanted to go over this morning. I was at Ideal MRI, which is in the Central Texas Marketplace, right there off of what would be the exit of 35 and then on Bagby. And at 10 o'clock, I walked through the front door. Teresa is at the front desk. Cheryl is the tech. And Al LeBlanc is there as well, who drove up from, I think, San Antonio to be a part of my appointment. Dr. Rob Maxey in Longview is the one that set it up. He's also been the contact when we decided to host this show, and they wanted to be immediately the title sponsor.
Did he know? I mean, this is, and I'm not saying this to make fun, but you're a person who's somewhat claustrophobic, correct?
Yeah, that's on the sheet. You have to. Yeah. You have like 15 questions, and one of them, it could be about any. You have anything has been, I guess, inserted steel, metal, whatever. But one of them is, are you claustrophobic? And I circled yes and no. And there's been a couple of times when I've gotten into an MRA machine and I have gotten spooked. Craig, have you ever been in? I know you've been in one.
Yeah, I've been in more than one occasion and didn't really bother me all that much. I am claustrophobic, but I guess it has to be to a certain point where I'm like really, really like I guess tied up to be like freaking out. But it's being in a small room for just a few seconds or in a small little tube for a few seconds that doesn't bother me all that much.
Yeah, I've done the MRIs now where they give you music in your headphones.
I had loud rock music.
So you don't for the lady, the last time I got one was on my knee. And
you're not in the tube, are you?
You're only like just your waist. So that which is the best part because you can put your hands behind your head and you can relax. And so she said, "What kind of music?" I said, "I don't know, something relaxing or loud." I mean, I don't know. So I picked the Foo Fighters. It's good, my favorite band, and it's good rock music, and it, you're still, even if you're out of the machine with the headphones on, you're still going to hear the clangs. It's not.
Yeah, that's a very.
It's a strange thing, but she was relieved because she had like 9 cheerleaders and all these different things in a row from all over the place at that time of year, and they were all picking like pop music that she couldn't stand anymore. She goes, "I thought you were going to say Drake," and I'm like, "Look, I'm not saying
I would have been good
but
for anything just to make it loud."
Yeah.
And I got the headsets. The headsets are very nice. But Al LeBlanc, he manages in one of the investing partners. He was there, and I got to tell you, that was as smooth as anything I've ever done when it comes to an MRI. Because there was one recently when I had to go when I was having that issue with sometimes some numbness, and I was having some what might have been issues with my neck. And I had to go to one, and they were redoing the main MRI machine, and they had one in a trailer, like in one of those where you're like a food truck.
So it's a small thing. So it's just like.
So you're already claustrophobic when you walk in the trailer. There's no room for nothing.
Do you feel like a Russian nesting doll?
No, this one here had the opening at the end, but you really never feel that because. And have you ever opened your eyes when you're in one?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's right there.
Yeah, you're.
Like my nose started itching.
Mm-hmm.
I could have used my right hand, but I didn't. I just wanted to tell you, these guys, these men and women were fantastic. At Ideal MRI, again, they help lower the cost of health care. They do use insurance. Sometimes the MRIs can be somewhere in the neighborhood of less than $500 and save you thousands of dollars. That was not a scheduled commercial, but it is because I was there today. I went through the process, and it was as comfortable as possible that it can be an MRI. And I want to thank Al, Teresa, and Cheryl at the one in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco. All right, when we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, National Football League. John, we had Nat Moore yesterday, former Dolphins wide receiver, on to discuss his time playing for the legendary Hall of Famer himself, and Don Shula. Any Don Shula memories with you?
I sure do. I wrote a column today that's on our sports website, TexasSportsNation.com, and in 1978, the Dolphins were one of the best teams in the NFL. The Oilers were in their fourth year with Bum Phillips as the head coach. It was November the 20th, Miami and Houston in the Astrodome on Monday Night Football. Before that game, Bum Phillips was asked what he thought about Don Shula as a coach, and they were real good friends. And Bum said one of his most famous quotes, "He can take his'n and beat urine, and he can take urine and beat his'n," meaning he can beat you with his players or yours. In that game, it was kind of Earl Campbell's coming out party as a rookie, number one pick out of UT, scored on an 81-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter that proved to be the game winner. He had 199 yards rushing in that game. Oilers won 35-30. And the Monday Night Football people voted that the best game of the first 25 years of Monday Night Football. So they played again and gave Shula and the Dolphins a chance to get revenge at the Orange Bowl in the wild card round of the playoffs. Dolphins have been 11-5. Oilers were 10-6. Instead of a big offensive explosion this time, the Oilers beat them 17-9. Earl scored another touchdown. Bum Phillips was 5-1 against Don Shula. No other coach that played Shula more than 5 times had a record like that, because Shula, I think, had a winning record against just about everybody, and except Bum. And they were great friends. And last time they were together, Shula came to Houston for the opening of his steakhouse at the Hyatt Regency downtown. Bum was there. A lot of the ex-Oilers were there. I tweeted a picture about it yesterday. They had a mutual admiration society, and that 1978 season was what I remember most about Don Shula and Bum Phillips and the Love You Blue Oilers.
He may be, I mean, you could make this argument, he's the most irreplaceable coach in the history of the NFL, because the Dolphins have done next to nothing since he retired.
Yeah, it's kind of like they haven't replaced Dan Marino either. And you think all the guys they tried as a head coach, Jimmy Johnson, I think, came the closest. Dave Wanstead, I think, made the playoffs, and they fired him anyway. And they've had some owners that weren't very good too. But replacing Shula and Marino has been extra difficult for them to do. And I know the fans down there have been so frustrated. And I used to love going to the Orange Bowl, covered a couple of Orange Bowl games at the Orange Bowl, and then, of course, covered some Dolphins game before they moved into their current stadium. But Don Shula was, he was not a character. I mean, he was a high-class guy. I tweeted earlier, his former media relations director with the Dolphins, Chip Namias, was with the Oilers for 10 years and then Tampa Bay. And he wrote for the Palm Beach Post yesterday remembrances of Shula and a bunch of personal stories. And the one I like best is what Shula had told him that after they lost in the Super Bowl in '71, the year before they had the only unbeaten season, he and his family, wife and his two young boys, went to either Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard for a vacation in the summer. And they were walking down the street after dinner, and it was early, and they saw a movie that the kids would like, and they went in. And when they walked in, wasn't many people on a weeknight, but they saw Shula and started clapping. And Shula waved to them and thanked them, and they sat and they watched the movie. And when they were getting up and collecting their things, a guy went up, shook his hand, and thanked him. And he goes, "Oh, you're a Dolphins fan all the way up here?" And he goes, "Huh?" He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. The manager just told us until we got 10 people in here, the movie wasn't going to start. So thank you very much."
That's awesome.
Where is, John, I'm curious, Don Shula in your pecking order of the great all-time NFL coaches?
Well, Craig, to me, Vince Lombardi is the all-time great. I saw people talking about the Mount Rushmore coaches and Shula and Paul Brown and Lombardi. And to me, growing up in Waco and being a Cowboys fan and Tom Landry coaching 28 years, he would have to be on it too. And, Bill Walsh would be, I would put those would be my top 5 of the greatest. I'm sorry, Belichick, of course. I put Belichick as the greatest in history and Lombardi second. Because think about the guys like Shula and Landry and Chuck Noll and Bill Walsh and all those coaches didn't have to deal with free agency. They didn't have to deal with a salary cap. Think about all those players. Who would Tom Landry have kept? Charlie Waters or Cliff Harris? Drew Pearson or Tony Hill? You can't keep all those guys. They never had to make decisions like Bill Belichick has made. Not only has he made them, he's won 6 Super Bowls. So I think Belichick's the greatest in history, and Shula's one of the top 5, and Lombardi's number 2.
And then Shula, I did not realize this until I did a little bit more, and we were getting ready for the Nat Moore segment, and is that he played for Paul Brown?
He did. Played for Paul Brown. He played for 3 different teams, had a 7-year career. And I read this yesterday. Carol Rosenblum, the owner of the Colts, somehow kept an eye on him when he was playing for the Colts. Said he wasn't that good of a player, but he was always taking notes. He was always asking questions of the coaches, staying after practice, wanting to know why they did that, why they did that. And I thought this guy might be a head coach someday. And, of course, he hired him and ended up going to the Super Bowl and losing to the Jets in Super Bowl III. When he hired Shula at 33, he was the youngest in history. And then, of course, Miami had tried to get him before and couldn't do it. And they got him in 1970, and the rest is NFL history.
John, we were talking about this earlier. If the Hall of Fame induction has to get postponed to next year, and they essentially have to do 2 classes plus this jumbo class at once, could you see that being like a 3-day event?
Well, the way it's set up now, Paul, is they have the regular induction ceremony for the modern era class in August, and I'll be stunned if they can pull that off. And then the Centennial class was going to be September. So I guess they could space it out like that. The idea is, and this is a terrible thing to say, but it's a fact, just like the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, they have fundraisers that help them make money. So if they did it in one weekend, you would have everybody come in for one big weekend instead of 3 separate weekends. So I'm sure they're considering 1 and 3. Hopefully, maybe we'll have a virtual Hall of Fame weekend, but I do know Canton is about the size of Waco, and on Hall of Fame weekend, it grows to about 250,000, and hotel rooms from Canton to Akron to Amish country to Cleveland are sold out. And you can imagine how much that means, not just to Canton, but to whole northeastern Ohio.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, John, because we're all really just speculating about what could potentially happen in the next few months. But with college football, we've had ADs and head coaches in some cases say, okay, well, let's say that we could play on time or around on time. We need at least this much time to get ready. We need 6 weeks has kind of been the common answer. As far as the NFL preseason goes, and people debate on how important that really is, how much time do you think NFL teams do need need to get ready for an actual season? And do you think it would require at least 1 to 2 exhibition-style games?
I think they could have joint practices. The way it is now, they don't hit anybody in training camp. They don't tackle and take anybody to the ground. Now, when you don't have on-field coaching, and it's hard for rookies, I'm writing a column about this Sunday about some of the free agents who've made the Texans, like Arian Foster, Dylan Cole, and Brian Bremen. And those guys, would they have been able to attract attention as undrafted free agents on the field in front of their coaches? Would they do that today on a computer? I don't think so. I think that's the guys who will be affected. When the NFL announces schedule Thursday, they'll try to keep it as normal as possible. Everything will start on September 10th, Thursday night, and end at the Super Bowl February 7th. There's no way the league's going to be able to do that. I think the season will start like in October. They'll have the Super Bowl at the end of February. Anytime you're a host city, you have to save multiple Sundays in that month in case there's an act of God. And so they have every Sunday in Tampa set aside up to the 28th when they could still host the Super Bowl. I know in Houston they had to have it was up to the end of the month. So they can move it back. And the thing about, there's people talking about playing on Saturdays if college football doesn't play. How are they going to know that? College football might not start till October. And so the NFL all of a sudden going to switch games. I'll tell you this, if you're planning to go on the road and see a team play when the schedule comes out, you better think twice about doing it. Go at the end of the season, because I don't see how there's any way fans are going to be able to get into games in packed stadiums when in the first September, the weekend of September 10th after Labor Day, because we can just look at pictures of the beach and see people are not going to do what they're supposed to do when they're allowed to go back into packs. And so I expect the NFL try to make it normal, be positive as possible, but say, yes, we have a contingency. And I wrote a column about this today, about 1982, strike shortened season, played 9 games. Fans were just so glad to have the NFL back that they finished the season, and they put 16 of 28 teams in the playoffs. People were happy about it because they knew it was a one-time thing. So whatever they do in college and pro football, people are understand the situation. And one other thing about the states, like California is going to be the last state that's going to let its players do anything. And the NFL has said if one state has restrictions that the others don't, everybody will. Well, one of the possibilities might be to move the Rams, Chargers, and 49ers to a state like Texas or Florida and let them come here and practice and play games until those states open back up.
Frank Gore is with the Jets now. Is he one of the most not undistinguished, one of the quietest all-time Hall of Fame running backs ever?
That's a great point, David. He is, because I remember when he was at the University of Miami, he blew out 2 ACLs. And I remember a story with him saying he thought his career was over and he'd never get to realize his dream of playing in the NFL. And here he still is, going fairly strong. He's a backup. If he could come in, get 400 or 500 yards behind Le'Veon Bell, they'd be happy with it. I don't think he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's gotten this far because of his durability, but I do believe after the first ballot, it won't take long for him to go in. And durability has to count for something. But it is amazing at his age, at a time when everybody says running backs are devalued, that now Frank Gore's still alive, kicking in the NFL.
John, your thoughts on Andy Dalton to the Cowboys?
Great deal by the Cowboys. I thought these nincompoops out there trying to act like it had something to do with Dak Prescott don't have a clue. Has nothing to do with Prescott. Dak's been durable, and you hope he's always durable. But, boy, if he's not, who would you rather have, Cooper Rush or Andy Dalton? Dalton's one of the all-time good guys. He'll fit right in. I think the Cowboys just keep on making good moves, and hopefully it'll help them win the NFC East and get back in the playoffs and do a little damage.
Thank you, John. Appreciate
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em.
That's John McClain, Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle, at McClain_on_NFL on Twitter, and he's with us on Tuesdays at 5:30. Again, normally on Tuesdays, Mac Rhodes. He'll be with us tomorrow. Andrew Billings tomorrow. Mac Brown tomorrow. And also we'll have pieces of the Dave Aranda media availability that will be tomorrow afternoon on Zoom at 2:30. This is SicEm365.
We can just keep it here for the rest of the show.
Okay, good. That sounds good.
We're well ahead of schedule. I'm very proud of you today.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to say something you're not surprised. We've got time to take a couple of phone calls.
Here's Taylor Estes on Twitter. So this is such, you have Kansas and Missouri playing, right? So they're returning to an old time, the border war. So today,
it's now the border kerfuffle or something like that.
So, like they changed the name of Texas OU. But this, you tell me if is this a UT thing in response? Chris Del Conte on returning rivalries with either Texas A&M, LSU, or Arkansas. Our goal is to play non-conference teams that have won championships in the modern era of college football.
That's some all-time
UT.
I gotta say, I respect that.
No, that's a good one.
That's a good one right there. The modern era of college football, of which, if 2005 didn't happen, they wouldn't even been able to include themselves in.
But I'll say this: Del Conte is the perfect Texas AD. He really is. He just is what I think the Texas AD would be like, including little shots like that. And I am so sick and tired, and I know I'm very much alone in this, of hearing about A&M and Texas. I understand the importance. I understand the pageantry and the passion that was involved. But my God, people, we've been talking about something that we know is not going to happen and that hasn't happened in nearly 20 years.
10. It's 10.
10 years.
Yeah.
It's been 10.
It'll be 20 before it would.
Exactly. These great rivals. And we all know the reasons why. It's both of them. And if it's one, then it's at one point this one's kind of being more stubborn, and then this one then takes shots at the other one because they're and it's still a rivalry. And I'm sure when they finally get on the football field at some point soon, when they get like Stephen F off their schedules and they have some clear spaces to add this team, then it will be great and it will be a big deal and it'll be in prime time and all that good stuff. I miss the rivalry to an extent as much as somebody can that had no dog in the fight, but the yearly, and what's going to happen is this Thanksgiving, every reporter around the state is going to rehash their articles on how great it was when these I'm just tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Do it or don't do it.
Exactly right.
But here's something that Chris Del Conte was hired December 9th of 2017. Since he was hired, these teams have been scheduled as a non-conference team after he's been hired. San Jose State for 2025. That was scheduled in February of 2020, just 2 months ago. Louisiana Monroe, scheduled for 2022. That was scheduled in January of 2020. Wyoming in 2023, scheduled in January of 2020. Texas State, scheduled for 2026. That was scheduled in January 2020. And UT San Antonio scheduled 5 games over 8 years, May of 2019. So that's just a cheap shot.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's fine, and it got obviously Texas fans all riled up, but it's just like, guys, like all I see is these two sides talking about how they don't care about each other, and yet all you do is you talk about each other when it has nothing to do with one another. You talk about each other, and we've been talking about the same dadgum thing for a decade.
Well, one of them still has the other one in the fight song.
Right. I mean, it's so silly. It's like the couple that just needs to get together already, and it's annoying that they just keep flirting or pretending like they don't like each other when we know they really do, and they really do feel, they really do need each other in the long run. And I know that they don't have to ever play again, and then both schools will be fine, but can we quit with all this rehashing of like all lovey-dovey memories of this game that every year we have to rehash the same things because they haven't played in 10 years?
Is it a question? There are sometimes questions that you have to ask as a journalist when you're at a press conference. I think that we are to this point where this one is not one that you have to ask.
No.
Because you know what the answer is going to be. Just let them say it when it's going to happen.
Right, but they interjected themselves too and put shots in, I'm sure, where they can. And I don't know exactly what the question was that Del Conte got.
They're both very petulant. They're both childish, and it's You know what? Both of them could move on without the other one, but it's like they don't want to let the other one know they can.
Right, and then they go and they tell each other how much the other side's obsessed with them, but it's like, but you're the one talking about what you're saying. The other, and it's just it gets annoying to me. And I think both fan bases,
well, we're also in the state of Texas,
right? Yeah. And it's an important story in the state of Texas. I understand all of that, but I'm just tired of seeing the recycled articles every Thanksgiving about the same thing that hasn't happened in yet another year that's gone by, and. There's a lot of people out there, like I know Paul especially with A&M, got like these great memories, and that's all well and good, and I'm not trying to denounce any of that. I love the rivalry when it was around, but the articles every year, and it's not just November now. Now it's randomly in the summertime or randomly in the like anytime these guys talk, at some point or another, 3, 4, 5 times a year, Del Conte or the A&M AD will have some comment about this rivalry that doesn't freaking exist. It doesn't exist because they don't play each other.
You know what it reminds me of? Guns N' Roses didn't do an album for like 22 years. And then when like they did, it wasn't all the normal Guns N' Roses. That's how I feel it's going to be. It's like, okay, we've been wanting this album to drop forever, but when you finally do it, it's not going to be as good.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's going to be so much hype about it. And don't get me wrong, and I want to clarify something. The rivalry does exist, and the rivalry will always exist. It's just it's not an athletics-exclusive rivalry. That A&M-Texas rivalry will live forever and ever till we're all dead and gone. But on the football side of things, it's just, to me, become really silly at this point because it's all empty words. It's empty words by everybody talking about how they want to play, but the other side don't want to play, or we want to play, but they're scheduling other teams. If you both really wanted to make it work, then you'd make it work. It's clear that both sides don't want to make it work, and at any given moment, you know, we got to rehash something that, again, it's not changing. It's not changing anytime soon, and that's unfortunate because I think we're going to look back at a stretch where these two teams didn't play for like 15 years in a row potentially, and that's just going to be, you know, sad to look back on, that two schools with so much at stake and so much pride and so much tradition behind the rivalry allowed that to happen for that significant of a stretch. I just think that's going to be really unfortunate when we look back on it.
All right, so that was Del Conte, and that sounded like the Texas, the UT.
Yeah, although it was a well thought out.
It's a good jab. I'm just tired of the jabs. I just want to see them play already.
But then everyone's going to get butt hurt, or the other's going to laugh, and then if A&M does it, then it's like you get butt hurt. Yeah, they're so hypocritical.
If I were Ross Bjork and somebody asked me about that, I would say, I think it's all in your perspective. I felt 1939 was the modern era. We had telephones.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Michael Wilbon did something that a lot of people do. So during the last, I don't know if it was episode 5 or 6, Michael Wilbon said the dream team, based on the environment, the camaraderie that happened, about Isaiah Thomas not being invited or not being on the team. Michael Wilbon, I believe the quote was that 9 players, multiple sources reached out to tell me 9 members of the dream team objected to Isaiah being on the dream team, the 92 Olympic team. Apparently nowhere near that number objected. My apologies to Isaiah for getting it wrong. I've had multiple sources reach out and tell me I'm dead wrong. So my apologies.
Huh. I do still think it wouldn't have been just about Jordan, though.
I doubt it, yeah.
And
but there were also the thoughts that Magic and Bird were also fed up because they had their skirmishes with the Pistons,
Isaiah and Magic used to kiss each other on the cheek before the game. And I always wondered if that was like both of them. I don't know if that was mutual respect or if it was just something they did to keep up appearances. Because they did. I mean, they had their...
Jordan has denied it. That doesn't mean he's telling the truth. If you want to attribute to me, go ahead, be my guest, but it wasn't me.
Exactly. Exactly. Michael Jordan, go ahead and blame it. Like, he doesn't care about being blamed for it, so he has no reason to lie. He's going to get blamed for it probably regardless. And
he's also saying...
He also said this, would Isaiah have made a different feeling on that team? Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was apparently a bunch of superstars that got along as if it was smooth as silk.
Yeah, and all those guys, you know what was funny is that All-Star game they showed that Larry Bird was coaching in Kobe's first All-Star game there. You could see how much Larry and Michael like each other, and, Magic Johnson walks in, and it's a reunion. Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan are still great friends to this very day, so Yeah, I mean, that's an important thing.
Magic, in fact, said, didn't want all the blame, but he did say there were 4 or 5 guys who just had problems with him, meaning Isaiah. Wilbon furthered the point by saying it was more like 9 or 12. And then, of course, he apologized with what he's saying. Hanging that on Michael Jordan is just inaccurate. The group of people, I'm going to say 9 out of 12, they made it known to whomever this wasn't somebody they wanted in their camp. The camp that doesn't mean they didn't. Remember the practice in which Magic and Bird were taunting Jordan, and then Jordan just took over a practice and dominated like everything, and then Magic throws the ball in the upper. That doesn't mean they didn't get along. It's just that they were so intense.
Well, and Magic was probably the guy on that team that had the ability to walk on the bus and cut the tension right away. Like he did. I mean, a couple minutes they're on the bus and nobody's saying anything. He's like, well, we got to get back to having fun. And he just cracked a joke about, man, we shouldn't have pissed him off.
Isaiah said, I accept your apology. Thank you. Just a simple thank you. Whether he does or not, that doesn't matter. I'm not going to examine. What we do now is we ask for apologies, then you get one, and then you examine. Well, I didn't mean it.
The other thing was, who was the coach of the Dream Team?
I don't even remember.
Chuck Daly.
Oh, Chuck Daly. Yeah.
Isaiah's coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
says quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of times if you're the coach of the Dream Team and the best player on your team, which is Isaiah Thomas, was not involved, a lot of coaches would
not just not involved. He's not on the team.
Yeah.
Like that. The thing is, like, one thing if he wasn't a starter, he wasn't on the team. So
I'm going to say 9 of those guys just were not in favor of hanging out with Isaiah at that time, and that's the kind of the summer that Rachel. It was a big hangout. It was like a summer camp. They knew who they wanted to spend the summer with, and they knew who they didn't want to spend the summer with.
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously Christian Laettner was cooler.
Yeah, Christian Laettner was a cooler dude than Isaiah Thomas. I mean, I think it's just very clear he wasn't popular. They didn't like him all that much, and if they're going to have this grand time as the Dream Team Olympic Games, they didn't want somebody who was potentially going to ruin the party and not make it as fun. And that sounds like exactly what they all expected Isaiah Thomas to do, so they were better off without him, and
I like the fact
worked
that
out
Will
well.
Vaughn said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this day and age where people want to just bunker down and I didn't say that or whatever, he said it. And good for him to apologize. Jason Barrett had that on his Twitter feed, a guy that covers a lot of media, radio, media, TV, radio and television media. So, all right. So, Mark Cuban today on SI Now said the Mavericks tried to sign the post-Bulls Michael Jordan. That would have been interesting to hear that conversation.
Well, just another person who told the Mavericks no.
Missed free agent, yeah.
Darren Ravel, a couple of notes to close it out today on SicEm365 Radio. Michael Jordan's American Express card, and I don't know what year this is, sold for $3,146 in a gold-in auction sale in 2012. A card that was 07-2005 valid, so it's expired. Mm-hmm. And 7 years after it expired, somebody bought his American Express card.
How do they know it was Michael Jordan?
Oh, it's got the authenticity.
Okay.
You can no. It's
there's plenty of people named Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I get Michael J. Jordan.
Was it a black card?
It was a green card.
It was a green. Okay. The American Express black card is the one. That's the one.
Let's see here. And again, there's going to be the black cards, the black American, is that the one you asked about? They did not come out until 2008.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a little surprising to me that it would just be there. I guess that was.
Why would you spend $3,146 on a card that is valued you can't spend it?
It's Michael Jordan's.
Yeah, I know.
It's a card. It's what collectors do.
I know.
But I mean, if you walked into somebody's house and you were like, "See that there? Michael Jordan's credit card." You'd be like, "Yeah, that guy's kind of weird."
That reminds me, I had a tweet. This is from over the weekend, and I don't know if I'm going to find. Here it is. So this came to me over the weekend from West Milam. This is my aunt's suitcase that she took to Baylor in 1943 and 44. Her father graduated in 26, mom in 54. I graduated in 86. My daughter graduated in 2018 and a master's in 2020. It is a suitcase, a brown, old-fashioned suitcase. And the logos on it are all of the various, like, Baylor logos. Baylor, the Sailor Bear, and among many others. And this tweet has gone, like, viral because then somebody else followed up, Baylor fanatic, cleaning out the attic and found this framed Sailor Bear cross-stitch. My wife's grandfather gave it to me before she died. She was an amazing woman. And this one led to then Wes Milam's tweet, and this has gone nuts. People have gone nuts over this. And there were some of them, they were like stickers on one of these things. SMU, Rice, Tulsa, UT, and then I believe there was, West Texas A&M.
Wow.
Was the Buffaloes, which I guess is now West Texas. Is that West Texas State University? Or is it Texas A&M? I don't even know what.
West Texas A&M, I believe.
Today, West Texas is now Division II. Southwestern, of course, in Georgetown. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat that this just showed up and they tagged me on it, and I wanted to mention that since we were talking about collectibles. Okay. All right, Paul, who did we have?
We had
Kalief Muhammad. We had Kyle Gibson, Texas Rangers pitcher. Matt Maxon, the producer of The Last Dance. David Helman of DallasCowboys.com. And John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. Tomorrow we'll have Mac Brown, Dave Aranda, Andrew Billings, Mac Rhodes, and more. Paul Catalina. Craig Smoke, thanks to Dylan Chapman. Great to see you again, young man. I'm David Smoke. Thanks to all of our fantastic sponsors that help us every single day do this. And, of course, don't ever want to forget Brian Etheridge, Ashley Hodge, Colt Barber, Grayson Grunhafer, Jason King, Sam Bradshaw, and many others behind the scenes that help make this happen as well. Good night on SicEm365 Radio.